Muted you because I practiced something last time. Thank you for reminding me. Probably good. Just a bunch of crazy talk. Last night I was experimenting with double mute. Thank you so much for mentioning something. Yeah, last night I was thinking about well, I should probably change the topic for this. Just so I have a reference to so I can find it in my own stuff so I can go search it. Entered sessions will be live streamed. Over coffee. That's probably a good thing for me to talk about over coffee before I get into it. I promise. To get to it. I'll leave that in there. I gotta get really good at changing the topic. I gotta get even better at doing that. All right, so, I mean, I don't know. This is not a 1080p. At least it didn't look like a 1080p. Share info, related photos, download. So while I'm doing this looking for this background thing, I just wanted to let everybody know. Yesterday I actually logged about this. Might as well go pull that up and just try to, you know what? Maybe I just don't have a background today. Because no background today, not for a while anyway. I'll go back to the Groovebox. This is how you do Groovebox. Pretty plain gray background. So the first thing I need to let everybody know. So yesterday, you can go read about it in my log if you want. So it looks like if everything goes well, I'm going to have a full-time job next week. In addition to the mentoring I've always been doing. Set dash EU in all bash scripts. Why? It's a different topic. I'm pretty sure I have that in mind. Alright, repair time schedule. I know. So, but so this is a change to the stream, so I thought I'd go ahead and announce it really quick. I wasn't planning on doing this morning. I was planning on doing my little Perl. Mostly I'm going to be losing time. And I've still promised y'all, 3 hours a day of beginner boost on Saturday and Sunday, which I will do today at 10 o'clock. But I tell you what, we're going to work through that book, the Learning Web Design book, and then that'll be the last web development you ever see me do, unless I have to do it for some other reason. Because the amount of demands on my time and stuff is going to make it so that I'm not going to want to stream anything that I'm not directly related to or want to do for recreation. And I don't want to do web development for recreation. Hell no. So I mean, I'm looking at a 14-hour days every day. Which is fine because the mentoring, though, I have to enjoy it. And so I'm going to actually change the mentoring. And I'll be announcing this to everybody in my mentoring group, skillstack.io, if you're interested. skillstak.io. That's where I do my mentoring. And so the announcement is just that I'm going to change this. It's going to be actually something I realized is that anybody else who wants to mentor, by the way, this might be useful information for you going into it. Particularly if you've got another full-time job. And I'm getting the full-time job because I need insurance and a mortgage. So I mean, mentoring has been doing fine. But so my regular thing right now is this. This is, let's see, what did I do here? Yes, paired. Oh yeah, right. So from now on, what I'm going to do is in the next house is I'm going to set up live streaming while I'm mentoring. And I did this last year. What I would do is I would mute during mentoring sessions. I would mute, but I was still here, so I could see the chat. People were participating. I could read it. I could sometimes chime in and turn my voice on really quick to chime in. But the priority, of course, was the person that I was mentoring. And I've been giving this a lot. This is the one thing I do have control over. I don't have control over the job. The job is gonna, ethically I should work on it 6 to 8 hours a day every day, and that's gonna be probably from 8 to 3 every day, and then sleep, and then go back and do mentoring. The difference is though is that I plan to do all of my mentoring live. So I haven't got it yet. I haven't got it yet, but it's really really looking good. I mean, it's coming from a recommendation from somebody who asked for me. So it looks really really good. I would be really surprised if it fell through. It might still not work, but we'll see. I mean, it's a fun job. I'm gonna look forward to it. Lots of Bash, lots of Shell, lots and lots and lots of Linux. So how could it go wrong, right? So the current rate I have is it works into about a little bit more than $50 an hour for mentoring, and that will be the default for everybody that I mentor right now. And most of those people I mentor are people that I can mentor while I'm doing other stuff. I call it monitored mentoring, which means I have curriculum, I have challenges for them to do, and they do it on the screen right here, and I watch it while it's happening, and over here I work. A lot like an artist, and I was an apprentice to a painter for a while as a kid. And he would paint, and I would paint, and I'd draw, and we would be right next to each other. And he didn't really tell me what to do, and I liked it that way. I mean, I would learn stuff, but he would give me little tips and say, hey, you need to do this and this. He wasn't a very good teacher, though. But so I sometimes worry about that method. But I tell you what, this has definitely worked. It forces you to be an autodidact. It forces the people to learn. There's some people who don't like it. I have a couple of people who told me straight up, is like, I like it when you tell me everything to do. And I'm like, well, we got to fix that. That's not a problem with the system. It's a problem with you being married to this idea that you can't learn on your own. You can't practice on your own. And so monitor mentoring is the best challenge-based mentoring. That's what most people want, actually. Most people in my community, when I went to this, were like, oh, yes, please. Because they didn't have to hear me talk all the time. They just shut up and they could work. And I'd say, okay, here's the challenge. Boom, I'm on it. And they'd put it on the screen and they'd work and they get stuck. And there's nothing about that can't be public. Particularly, did you get a job? Well, I've all but gotten a job. So let's put it that way. I'm not going to make any announcements yet. I haven't interviewed yet, but I talked to the recruiter yesterday. This is coming from a personal referral. I don't want to disclose anything else about the job right now, just to say, but I'm preparing my time schedule and everything so that when I do have an interview, I can talk about it intelligently and say, hey, this is how I'm going to manage my time. Not to mention the fact that I really want to continue mentoring people because the recruiter I'm working with even wants the people that I'm mentoring. So, he didn't say so explicitly, but he was like, it sounded like he was pretty interested in the adults and younger people that I've been mentoring who are looking, straight away for opportunities. And so that means there's a number of reasons for this decision. In fact, it's probably going to be easier to read this in the GitHub version. So the GitHub version is, I really need to make a text viewer for Markdown. There's already is one. I'm just not using it right now. Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Let me go show you the one that you can read online. It is available online, yes. Just give me a second here. Oh my gosh. Yeah, let's go open that. So that is over here. If you click on log, love the hoodie. The hoodie is just warm. I'm bald. The mornings, even if you have a good heater, they're always, you just never know if the heater's going to be consistent or not. So just cozy. Plus it helps with the headphones, not hurting my ears. So here's the log for yesterday. Actually, this isn't going to work, but that's okay. Let's take it to February 5th, which was yesterday. And so all this stuff's going to go on to skillstack.io eventually. This is just me. My log, I just work stuff out kind of messy. Twitch chat is IRC, yes. How come people aren't just joining it from there? Because in IRC, you can join IRC, but Twitch chat is not a full IRC client, nor is it Freenode. And who wants to be on just a Twitch server that you have to get an OAuth key and know how to use? So that's why. Yeah. So, and plus we have our own logs for all this thing. We've also, you're not doxing your IP in our server. You are in Twitch. If you use Twitch, you're doxing your IP. Some people don't like that. If you use our IRC server and you know how to use it, you can use a VPN. You can go to chat.rwx.gg and you can use that. And none of those methods will dox your IP. All right, so just let me recap for this topic and we'll move on. So there's a change to SkillStack right now. I should probably show you guys so you know. I mean, if I'm going to do this topic, I might as well do it right. All right, so skillstack.io is just, let me backtrack a little bit. So everybody, this is where I've been mentoring. This is what I've been doing for 7 or 8 years. I've been doing this learning lab where I help people learn whatever they want, but it's more and more begotten as the numbers have been reduced because of COVID and one-on-one mentoring as opposed to classrooms. I've started doing a lot of I've started doing one-on-one stuff, and the numbers went from 125 with a team of TAs down to 25. And that's what I have right now. And then, as you know, if you've been following the saga, bouncing around a lot, and with COVID, I'm doing one-on-one mentoring, which is actually better. I'm really glad. But it means that I've had to supplement my income by getting a regular job, and therefore, you guys, those who've been following me know this is just a recap. I've got a really solid lead with a great company, and so it looks like I have an interview next week, and it looks like it's probably going to go through. I would be really surprised if it didn't. And great job, a lot of Linux, a lot of Bash, a lot of Perl, a lot of believe it or not, a lot of Go, a little bit of Kubernetes, not too much. It's a great job. Lots of Linux, good people, great people. So anyway, and so, but this is what I've been doing before. And so this is up to today. The way I do it is I mentor. It's 900 for 16 weeks. So that seems like a lot of money, but it works out to be about $55 an hour, which is a little bit more than math lessons. People say I'm crazy for charging that for one-on-one full-time mentoring. And I've had variations in the cost thing, but I just like to keep it simple. It's just me. I don't want to make it crazy. And getting your money, by the way, if you want to be a mentor yourself, the thing to focus on is that people, this seems like $55 an hour, but really what it really depends on how much time, hi Quent, or Daewoo, it really depends on how much time the person that you're mentoring, that you've accepted into your community, it depends on how much time they put in. If they put in 8 hours a week, or the guy who got the 100K job as a junior dev, for which this was written, he put in probably at least 16 hours a week. So for him, that 900 for 16 weeks was nothing. The entire hour was spent answering questions that he had blocks he had hit during his week. He controlled the entire session because he was in charge of his own learning. And no, it's no surprise to me that he got a starter job at 100,000. Taught himself Rust completely, all by himself. Taught himself Vue. Taught himself Go. I showed him what to do, where to learn Go. What book to try, where to start. The resources and stuff, and got him on his way and helped him through the parts where he would get stuck, which was nice because then I could take note of that and then make gap filler tutorials that covered those things. That is the holy grail of mentoring. I have been doing it for a long time. It's come about rather organically. This isn't based on, any sort of educational science or academia or anything. Some of it is, but most of it is just realizing this is how you do it. And, but since I've started doing live streaming, a couple of things have started. So 3 things have changed. One, I started live streaming a lot. And that's been fantastic because my leads are not coming my leads for people to mentor are not coming from, so-and-so's mom knows so-and-so and they met at the local store or they go to the same school or something like that. That's the way it has been. So-and-so knows this person from this meetup. And I mean, up till I started streaming, that was where most of my people came from. And that was fine. But the people that came here were usually, 8 to 18, working on jobs, working on, just sort of they're looking for like tech piano lessons, that kind of thing. But not all, right? I've had people, over the last 7 years, I've had people as old as 70, come to me who wanted to learn how to code for one reason or another. Some people want to learn Python so they could keep up with their team that they managed. College students who were falling behind and needed to catch up. College students who were on summer break who wanted to actually learn something. That's their words, not mine. So, this has been its way it's been going, but 3 things have changed. So I started live streaming. That was a big one. 2, I started, as a part of the live streaming, I started getting a lot more professionals, like working professionals, and who were more into pair programming than challenge-based monitored mentoring. I mean, they like that too. And the 3rd thing was the job thing. So the job situation, I have to supplement the income because I can't provide for my family and insurance and everything with just 25 people a week. Some people could. I mean, 25. I don't mind saying 25 people a week works out to about $70K a year, and most people would be okay with $70K a year. So but you got to do everything yourself, right? You got to run your own IT shop. You got to be able to do it all. You got to be able to do everything if you're going to try it. And I've always been very transparent about my income stuff. And frankly, there's a good Adam Ruin's work where he talks about it's actually in everybody's best interest to be transparent with their income because it puts pressure on the people giving you the job. There's the stigma that's out there that sharing your salary is bad. It's bad form. You know who made that? The people paying you the money. It's like, surprise. The people paying you don't want you to talk to each other because you might actually realize that you're underpaid. Surprise, surprise. So that's where that cultural stigma comes from. Just get over it, man. Get over it. Get over it. If you feel like you're underpaid, then talk about it and find some way to get better paid. If you're ashamed of it, look, money has nothing to do with your capabilities or your quality as a human being. Do we have to make that case? I mean, seriously. Think about everybody who's a teacher. What percentage of quality of people who are teachers who buy their own supplies for their kids on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of ethos and sort of goals in life, what would you put them? Pretty high, right? They make 40 grand. You're going to judge them because they make 40 grand a year, 60 grand a year if they're good? If they teach football, 80 grand a year? No. It has nothing to do with your income. It doesn't have to do with who you are. So get over the fucking stigma, about your income. All right. So back to the story. So those 3 things changed. So that means I had to change something. So one of the first things that occurred to me, good morning from Germany. One of the first things that occurred to me was that this, that it's, how to put this? The first thing that occurred to me is that there's different kinds of mentoring and it takes different amounts of time. All right. So obviously paired programming, where we literally are sharing a screen and working on this same project that is an open source project that usually the people that we're pairing on together, they're going to directly benefit from it because they're going to be able to post it to their GitHub and GitLab, or whatever, and they're going to be able to submit it for the resume and everything. And all I'm really doing is looking over their shoulder and I'm letting them control the keyboard and we're talking and I'm sometimes controlling the keyboard. By the way, if you have an opportunity to pair program with somebody, I wish I could get Greg to tell his story. I'm not going to dox him too much here. This is somebody without a high school degree who has worked in advanced technology and has been requested over and over again. And he and I are writing a book. But he's entirely educated by himself and by looking at his pair programming with really good people, including Igni, who created YAML. Can you imagine pair programming with somebody like that? So, and he's spectacularly amazing. Oh my God. He doesn't even have, he's just the kind of guy who doesn't even have like letters on his keyboard. I'm going to stop talking about Greg. He's probably asleep right now, but I really look up to him because he's really taken everything about his tech career on his own head and he's succeeded overwhelmingly in it. Yeah, I had a clause in your salary not to talk about your salary. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. It wasn't the people who did that. The reason they do that is, we don't want to create division and resentment among our people. You know why? Because if you paid them what they were worth, and you pay them equally, then you wouldn't have to fight with this. It's not about how you negotiate. You get the people who are worse negotiators get less salary. You're not being hired based on your ability to negotiate salary. You're being hired based on your ability to produce for the company. I fucking hate that. I would never sign that. I don't care how bad the company or good the company is. I have to calm down again. More coffee. So, yeah, look, just watch Adam Ruin's work. You can watch it on YouTube. Go watch it. They go over the thing. It's actual science. They talk to economists about it. The only people who don't want you to learn that are the people who make the rules. So I have no problem with it. Anyway, now so speaking of money, I had to change my costs. So, but I get why people do that, because they're nervous. I understand why they do it too. But most of the stigma that is emotional with you, if you really, really step back from it for a while, when I first saw it, I was like, nah, this is BS. And then I really, really stepped back from it, and I was like, no, that makes sense. And in fact, if you work for education in America, it's mandatory for a university that's publicly funded. Every single position is public. At least the administrative positions are public. You can see everyone's salary. You have to know where to go and find it, and they try to hide it. But you can go look up everybody. I remember the woman who got me into teaching game development camps. She one time she was back there checking out everybody's salaries, and I was like, well, okay. So anyway, the numbers. So this is how much I make when I have pair programming. I have pair programming. It's 900, which is for 16. I told you about that. So this is what I'm going to do. I realized that the pair programming, this is, item number, 2, I get more adults in here. The people who are doing pair programming, they require 100% of my attention for the entire hour. And that's fine. I love it. It's usually really fun. In fact, I usually won't take on a pair programming project unless I am into what they're doing. If I'm not into what they're doing, I'm not going to waste my time. Now that I got a full-time job, I even have less motivation to do stuff I don't want to do with my free time. And mentoring is going to take every second of my free time pretty much, besides live streaming. So, I got to stay healthy too. I got to go run a day, at least an hour a day or something. So pair programming, I'm going to add a live component to everything. So that means, this is why I'm bringing it up on the live stream. That means that I'm going to be live streaming my pair programming. And I'm going to give people the option, how does Twitch docs RIP? And Freenode doesn't. Because you use IRC. So Twitch itself doesn't dox your IP. If you're using the web interface, it doesn't. If you use IRC, it dox your IP. It doxes your IP to Twitch. That doesn't concern people as much. So the pair programming is still going to stay at the same level, and that means, but then I'll be doing pair programming and I'll be muted. If the people who want to be muted, they'll be muted. But you'll still get to see what we're working on. Unless people pay the 20% more to have 100% private session that is not streamed anywhere. And that's, if somebody wants to pay that, I'll accept maybe one or two people to do that. But most of the people, and this is where you care, most of the people that I accept into SkillStack will be, unless there's a real extreme exception, I'm not accepting anybody into SkillStack who is not okay with me live streaming the at least the code portion of the mentoring. That means you'll see me talking, and I'll put a special icon down here or something, and we'll be typing away and coding and stuff, but you won't be able to hear their voice. Okay, a lot of people are very self-conscious about where they're at, and that's fine, and I can maintain their anonymity, but the screen and my comments if they're doing pair programming, the whole entire session is just going to be you watching me move around and muted. But you'll be able to see the project. You'll be able to see the project, unless the project gives away personal information about the person, in which case they need to pay for this one. Then I'm going to be doing the coding and the mentoring and the pairing, all that live. And that's fine. First project for here. So I don't mind links as long as they're relevant and, not boobies and stuff. I like boobies, just not links about boobies that get me in trouble. So that's what I'm trying. What I'm trying to tell the stream here is that I am still going to be streaming. Nobody gets to be worried about that. I had to make a decision about to cut back on my mentoring or to live stream. And I've told everybody I am committed for the rest of my life until I die. I swear to God, I am going to continue to live stream. It provides so much satisfaction and education for me, as well as fulfills all my goals for helping other people online. And I think that everybody kind of agrees with that. It supplements the beginner boost as you can see the thinking process. Exactly, Maluba. I'm glad we're on the same page because that's what I'm thinking about. Okay. So it's going to be almost kind of a game because if I have somebody who does not want their voice to be heard while I'm doing the mentoring, all you're going to see is a bunch of code going around and me coding. You won't be able to hear what I'm saying. Maybe you can try to read my lips. I don't know, whatever. But you're just going to have to guess about what's happening. In the chat, you can talk about it, maybe help each other out. But my attention is going to be 100% focused on the person I'm mentoring, as it should be. But I'm going to do it in a way that you can watch it while it's happening, right? And I'm going to, going into this, I'm going to make sure everybody that I mentor understands that they're being live streamed. So please make sure you don't type, this or that. Most of the time, though, some of those people are not going to be doing things that that we're going to see together. Although I've thought seriously about one of the things that I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. There's a couple. It's tough because the hardest part of this whole thing technically is protecting their voice and their full name. Because if I do it from the same system and they call me over Skype or they Discord me, it'll pop up and I can't have that. So, and it's just too risky to have that to be on the same computer. But yeah, so, so here's another good thing. So because this is my live streaming and I also don't need the money as much, I'm adding a new thing that none of these others have. And this is something that is the reason I'm telling you about it on the stream. So monitored with no public. This is the new standard offering. So that's my same old, monitored thing. You're doing your thing. And I'm either watching you do co-combat over here and helping you out or helping you do whatever your project is. And then occasionally you need help and then I help you. But while I'm watching you for the 10 to 20 minutes, some of them can work for 40 minutes without any help, but they just need to know that I'm there and they need to be directed on what to do next. So they're doing all of that stuff. And that leaves me with lots of time to work on small things, but I can still stream through all of that while that's happening. It's just I have to make sure that I have to monitor them as I always do, and then I have to make sure if there's any problem at all, I immediately give them my attention because you can't wait even 2 seconds. I've written a lot about this. There's a book in there somewhere, a book about how to help people in the mentored sessions. But monitor mentoring is the real key part of monitor mentoring is to see when they struggle because a lot of times they won't tell you. They'll be struggling on something, and you have to be able to see that moment. You have to be able to chime in and give them just a little bit of a hit, just lift up the weight of the bar just a little bit, but not all the way. And they're like, oh, and then they'll, go back to their thing. And most people who are mentored don't want to be talked to the whole time. They want the support. They want to know they have somebody that can help them through that little problem. And they want to, particularly after they've really bought into this idea of autodidactic and they've felt the dopamine hit from learning on their own and controlling the entire learning experience other than the suggestions about what they learn next. So I expect that this is going to be maintained as the main thing. Paired programming is fun, but I don't take on paired programming projects unless I really, really, really agree with the project that's going on. So a good example of this is Greg and I are writing a book together, and that's entirely paired. The whole thing is paired. It's very lively conversation when we do it. But I would never take on more than 1 or 2 or 3 of those at a time. So most of it's going to be this kind of monitored stuff, which means I'm going to be able to live stream and do monitored sessions. But I want to increase the percentage of directed. And what directed is directed is when the session strictly follows the beginner boost paths, and it serves as a recorded example of the person going through the sessions of the beginner boost. Now, the thing here is this is going to have really limited availability. I'm going to have to interview you like I would interview an actor or an actress, because this, you can't even get this unless you promise to be, in Discord or on Skype with your full identity doxed, internet doxed, right? So, and you are asking questions and you're going through it. And I've seen a couple other people on Twitch that actually do this. So I can't take full credit for the idea, but what they do is they live stream, but they deliberately find somebody who's brand new to this, and they walk them through the entire process. And that's how that goes. In fact, I've the internet identity is the closest limited availability. I still want them to pay me. It's a trivial amount. It's like less than $20 an hour. It's like paying a McDonald's person for high-end, mentoring. But it's going to happen on the live stream, so I suspect it'll be, a thing. But there are actually a couple people, if you are set up to live stream, if you're set up to live stream already and you have everything done, or you're already like a developer advocate or something, let's talk, because this is the kind of thing that I still need to be paid to meet the minimums, and also to, it's kind of a filter criteria. If you, I don't believe in doing anything for truly free, unless it's benefiting the huge community. I think this stigma that particularly that developers need to give away everything is bullshit, frankly. That's, you don't ask a doctor to do that. Right? So why ask a developer to do that? And your time is valuable. You need to value it. In this particular case, it would be, a shared thing. So if there's anybody out there who their number one criteria, you need to never have even really seen Linux. You need to be an absolute beginner, because we're going to take you through the whole beginner boost from beginning to end. And rather than me telling you what to do as a beginner in a beginner boost, I'm going to be walking 1 or 2 or 3 people through beginner boosts. And then I have the path, which I've also defined. And that's what the rest of this writing is about, is that the path for my beginner boost is now going to be very specific. It's not going to have any web development in it other than understanding the basic HTML and CSS that is necessary to make a document. And that means really basic stuff that you can cover in 1 week, in 1 or 2 weeks probably. And that's it. And we're going to really hit heavily on Markdown and YAML and JSON. Basically, my beginner boosts are going to be entirely based on DevOps, CyberOps, Linux system, SRE jobs. It's going to be, cloud native development. Those are my beginner boosts are going to be entirely based on that. They're not going to be any front end engineering at all. It's going to be everything is going to be on the terminal, except for a very small portion where we just check stuff out and see if it looks good on the web. So if that interests you, let me know. You can reach out to me in Discord or in IRC, those kind of things. But the reason this one makes me happy is because that means that I can fill, easy hacks or 1 = 1. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, 1 = 1 kind of hacks. So yeah, we're going to be doing. So, but this one interests me. The way it's looking. And the other thing too is I want to do it all at once. You have to be able to block out like an entire evening, like a 4-hour block. So right now the directed boost stuff will probably be Tuesday nights. It will probably be Tuesdays, Saturday and Sunday. I don't know, but the way things are going, I'm probably going to move my beginner boost video creation on Saturday and Sunday off. I don't want to have anything on Saturday and Sunday given the load I'm taking on. So Tuesday nights will probably be entirely directed learning, and directed live mentored sessions, and I'm going to be looking for one or two people probably at tops for that. The rest of the people are just going to be monitored, and you won't be able to see what's going on. Okay, so I think enough of that. This way, as somebody said, and I think Maluba said, this way you get to benefit from the mentoring I'm doing. The people that I'm mentoring can feel like they're contributing to society, but they are also getting the specialized treatment that they're paying for. So it's kind of a hopefully it's a win-win for everybody. If somebody really, really wants 100% of my attention, I'm making that available, but I'm going to charge them more money for it. Because frankly, it takes a lot more time and energy, and it's exhausting. Doing a 100% 1 hour pair programming session is exhausting. It is exhausting. It's worth every cent of all 90, 70 bucks I'm going to charge for that. Because it's actually harder than if I was just coding full time for some company. It is, because you're not just coding, you're coding and you're processing how to help somebody else learn that same thing all at the same time as most efficiently. This is exhausting. Pair programming is really exhausting with the beginner, because and the pair programming I'm doing right now, I don't have a lot of beginners. Most of them are people who have been in the industry for years, and we're working toward a common goal. So it's not as bad. But it still takes an incredible amount of mental energy. It's actually really easy to do mentored monitoring, because most of the time they just need help, and that's why I'm going to tell you guys about it. If you take on one or two people and do some mentored mentoring. I don't think anybody should be mentoring until they have done it as a job. That's the nature of mentoring. You have done it. You know it. You're not, you're being paid to do it, or you have been paid to do it. If you go out and try to start mentoring people just because you finished college, do I have to tell you why that's a bad idea? Or if you create an entire organization for education online, and all you did is finish a boot camp, and there's a company an organization that shall remain unnamed that has done that, you have no business teaching people anything. You've never actually done it. Do you think I should be mentoring in Rust? Hell no. Do I know enough about Rust to know I don't want to use it for anything? Yes. But you don't know it truly. Why would you make a decision? Because I know enough. I know enough to know that to even create a program in Go and Rust, it's too much work. It's more work than I ever want to do. By the way, so that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm porting my Pro program to Go. It was a proof of concept of this, my knowledge management utility, the KN tool. I'm going to change the topic and take a break and change the topic right now, and move to that. But the point of it is that you don't just bust out a Rust script to handle your little journal thing. Some people can, but it's just not designed for that. So pick the right tool for the job. Rust is not the tool for that job. For many other jobs, it's very much the tool. All right. So anyway, that helps me kind of process this. I was really happy to have that kind of breakthrough yesterday, because I did not want to give it. This actually means that I'm going to be mentoring. Also, I'm going to be doing the morning things, the coffee sessions before work. So I'll be getting up every day, getting coffee, and jumping on the stream with my hoodie on or my sleeping bag. And, assuming it doesn't take away from my exercise schedule, which I have to start adding, obviously, that's what's going to be happening. So I'll take a quick break. I'm going to go back to the next thing. Uh-oh. Let me do, I'm going to go back and take a break on this topic. I might stay with just Great Groove Box today, because I want to do a lot of efficient coding today. And at 10 o'clock today, was that 3 hours? I'm going to be doing the web beginner boosts. So let's say I'm going to take a break for like 10 minutes or so. Break till about 7:15. Ba ba bum ba ba bum ba ba bum ba do 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 do. I see my spoof account is active. How's it going, Artifact Rob? Who's using that keyboard? I approve of this message. I approve of this. I reprove of this. Reprove. I even approve. Well, I gotta fix my hoodie. Oh. All right, people. What's next? A fair amount of Go programming. I checked in with the wife, and she was making noises in the kitchen. I was like, "Why are you up?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm taking the dog out to pee." I said, "Do you want to get up? I'll make you coffee." She's like, "No, I just want to sleep still." So cheers. It's like a bio label. This spoof of my true self is approved. You're a pretty good impersonator, yeah. Yeah, it took me a while to get it. I was like, I don't hear any mechanical keyboard. Why is he complaining about a mechanical keyboard? Oh! Totally, that was me, like 10 minutes ago. If I start, okay, so people, if I start to get janky, or I start to do the whole freeze thing because I'm playing the video in the background, please let me know. I have noticed that that does not happen with videos. This might have an actual explanation. It does not happen as much with videos playing in the background that have just isolated movement. And I bet that's because it doesn't have to encode as much, because there's been no change in any of this other stuff. And of course, other than my head being on fire, this video is a thing. So, so what are we doing? Inevitably, when I get into coding, but before I finish my coffee, I end up not finishing my coffee and it gets all cold. So I'm just eating coffee right now. Drinking coffee, eating a biscuit. A biscuit! Isn't that how you say it in England? There's no such thing as cookies in England. They're all biscuits. It's a biscuit. It's a very nice biscuit. But these biscuits are rather tart. They're rather tart. These biscuits are rather tart. Coffee ASMR mode, engage. There's something to look at. It starts in 1 hour. Oh, God. I want to go watch it. Can I watch it in the background while I code? See, now that's what I'm talking about. That's the perfect way to attend a conference. Seriously, if I were going to go to a conference, I would take my code with me in my laptop and I would code while I was listening to it. Because multitasking, we have to open that right now. Ooh. Gwen, thank you so much. Are you excited? Did you get to do the opening thing and everything for it? God damn. I mean, does that offend you? I'm sorry if it did. Deploy a Go HTTP server in your browser. What? I'm intrigued. Color me intrigued. YouTube's using TinyGo. Does TinyGo? Does TinyGo actually do Go routines now on microchip PIC controllers? Last I checked, it does not. That would be the cat's meow if it did. $700+ talks? Holy cow. Oh, I'm sure free and open source software is not going to be a thing. No. Don't do that. There's no jobs in that. Fast forward to 2021. Sorry, no, I don't have room for you. What I want to know is the ones you the ones you didn't put in. You know, it's probably not ethical for you to share that information. You wouldn't have to put the names on them, right? I want to know what you cut out. How did you make that? How did you make that decision? No, you're not good enough to go in here. Wait, I'll take a look at how many you got. Oh, God. For those who are just joining or who are new to the channel, Daewoo, a.k.a. Quint in real life, has, been helping with Pagan for me since the beginning of Pagan. And also happens to be the organizer of FOSDEM. And he's putting on this fantastic conference. You know how I feel about conferences, but this is a free one, and you can code while you're watching it, and it's online. Conferences are great for networking and stuff like that if they're free, but don't go tell your boss you need $2,000 and you can't do your job without going to a conference, because it's a lie. And you shouldn't lie. Go at tail scale. Are these all at the same time? I hate you. Co-organizer. Sorry. Got to have the co in there. I get it. Is Eric on co-organizing that as well? He's the Golang conference coordinator. Eric the dev. I hope, Eric, if you're out there, man, you're awesome. I didn't mean anything negative toward you at all in any way. Did you reject it almost 1,000? Wow. Yeah. Oh, you're doing a thing with Fine? Cross goes with Fine. Oh my God. I can't watch all of these. Shit. Are they going to be recorded? Obviously. Is everyone going to be recorded though? I got to bookmark this. They're all recorded. People, do you have any idea what a service to humanity you're doing by doing that? That is so cool. Thank you for organizing this. This is so amazing. I guess I can get behind conferences more when it's really clear what their motivations are. when a conference has like muddied, priorities, and I know people. I'm not saying any conference that I've mentioned. This is not a commentary on any of those, but I do know that people. I've heard people organizing conferences talk about all the money they're going to make organizing this conference and getting people to come to it, and they like sneaking the money out of the enterprise because they can get people, and they actually write tutorials sort of in their application about here's how to convince your boss to let you go. If you're doing that, then no, it's like, what can I get away with syndrome, as opposed to, what if everybody did it? What if everybody organized a FOSDEM or something like that in their local community and then released all the content to the world for public and went out to business sponsors to pay for the whole thing? What if everybody did that? That's the world I want to live in. What if everybody tried to get away with sneaking people out of their enterprises and the money out of their company and try to get them to go to conference? So those are my, sorry to get all philosophical on you. All free nonprofit, in theory, I'm just a volunteer. Right. So that, even if you're a paid automaton, and I'm not asking you to tell me that, but if even if you're paid for the conference, your time is worth your money. If you're going to volunteer, fine, but we have to root out this idea that people should do anything for free just because you're a good person. There are some things you can choose to do for free, but it's not good for society. We're okay with like being a doctor and getting paid, and I would never do anything for free. Maybe they would do something for free. I don't know. The idea of free is dangerous, I think. I like open source. Obviously, free and open source software is the name of this thing. But at the same time, I think, it turns on your definition of free too as well. Nothing in free and open source software has ever asked you to not sell your software, by the way. No. It just means they can see the source code, and that means that they can, riff out and do their own if they want. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of going down a tangent there. This is really interesting. I really want to go. You can cross that one off my list. Canceled going security. How and why I use Go as a cybersecurity professional. I've been saying this. God, I'm gonna watch. You know what, Quint? I got a resume to do, and I got the beginner boost to do, and I'm gonna rest comfortably knowing I can go back and watch all these. I'm gonna queue all of them up, and instead of watching Chuck for my entertainment, I'm gonna watch one of these. Pearl? There's a Pearl track? Are you kidding me? You gotta be kidding me. Really? Oh my gosh. That's funny. That's really funny. Have I not been, you heard the drama this week about Pearl. Lots of drama about Pearl this week, including me discovering that I should never have put it down. I'm sorry, Pearl is better than Bash. The end. It does more things, obviously. Too many things. That's the problem. People use it when they shouldn't. Oh my God. Well, FOSDEM does not have buildings or conference management system expects them. So we already use the group talks. Software that expects you to have a building? Seriously? That's funny. That's really funny. Wow, look at you go. Good job, man. Look at you go. Where's Pearl? We're going to go find Pearl. Pearl, where are you? RBX Rob. Give help and support for free to the people in need. That guy has people in the whole country waiting to pay him back to help support 10x. So sometimes it is worth giving for free, but only to those who appreciate it now and future. I think it's probably true. I'm not saying don't help people for free. I'm saying particularly in open source software, there's this ethos that you shouldn't be paid. There's also this ethos that if you're a serious developer, you have at least 2 or 3 open source projects on the side. It's a total bullshit. It is. You can still care about humanity and be a good person and contribute to society and be paid for what you do. You know, there's nothing bad about being paid. That's all. Particularly in open source development, I'm guilty of it. When I was young, it's like, oh, I got to give. I've given so much of my stuff and time that I ended up suffering from the alternative problem. And the alternative problem is then you have to go get a traditional job again because you're giving too much of your stuff away for free. So I sometimes wonder if I had done so many of my beginner boosts traditional books and stuff, if I could have had at least 10, 20 grand a year coming in from the books that would have supplemented it so I wouldn't have to go out and get a 9-to-5 job. But because I gave everything away for free and continue to give it away for free and depend on the generosity of people there's scientific studies that show everybody thinks they deserve everything. The scariest one is the one they did at Stanford. Watch some legal talks. FOSDEM schedule room legal. Ooh, yeah. I feel like there's going to be hours and hours of content over the next few months to watch, isn't there? This is fantastic. This is the kind of stuff. What was the study at Stanford? Oh, it's almost hard for me to talk about. Just finish that thought. So the thought I'm having, in the evening, there's going to be these videos from FOSDEM are the kind of videos that everybody out there should be queuing up when you don't want to watch boring Mr. Rob live stream all day, or when I'm offline or something, because you can watch these while you're working. You can listen to the ideas. A lot of times, if you don't fast forward, you got enough mental space to do your job and listen. These are perfect listening while you're doing other code. I'm going to confess something here. There's a part of me that's kind of glad that I can't stream most of what I do for this new position, hopefully, that I'm going to get next week. Because that allows me to do some of this other stuff that I couldn't do on stream, which includes watching videos and coding while you're doing it at the same time. Let's see. Until this year, all of them. Holy cow. Guys, everybody should bookmark that. That is so cool. I'm going to go bookmark mine right now. Go start watching them all. Super cool. It's a very FOSDEM site too. Look at that. This is my kind of site. Just enough to communicate. I want to try OSCON. So Dennis Last Miles from Twitch. He's been to OSCON several times. I've never been to an open source conference. I've given talks at local conferences in cities and stuff, but I don't know if those count. Linux meetups, Linux conferences, I've done that, but I haven't done done the conference thing. I've spoken at conferences and taught seminars at conferences for virtual worlds and stuff. So, if somebody asked about the study at Stanford, let me just say, oh, I lagged there a little bit. You see that? Damn it. Stupid fire, animated fire. I'm kind of stuck on this for a second. My mind is all over this. We are writing code. We are doing everything. We're ranting and writing code. Am I still on break? What's the topic? What's the top? Break. I'm still breaking, right? Yeah, so I haven't officially changed over yet. I will, and then I'll start coding. Well, we're actually, you know what? I'll mark this topic for FOSDEM. All right, let me do that. So I'm gonna put make sure to watch FOSDEM. What is it? Video.FOSDEM. Video.FOSDEM.org. Happening now. And then I always I have to put the chat URL all the time just because people, especially on YouTube, if you're on YouTube, you're wondering how to talk with us. This is how. I decided to do this instead of live chat on YouTube because the live chat on YouTube sucks. It's just, the API is horrible. So until the bridge tool that we use for IRC has support for it, which it has an open issue on, we're not going to mess with it and let them fix it. I don't want to spend time on it. It's in Brussels. All right, so I'm going to recap what I've been doing here now that we've got it. So if you're just joining us because of the topic change, when we're talking to Quinn here, the co-organizer of FOSDEM.org, a really amazing conference that goes back several years. He gave us a link that goes back all the way to 2006. Why do you care? It's in Brussels, so they're just starting up. It's pretty early here in the States, but everything is recorded. If you go to videos.fosdem.org, you can go see all the other ones. And if you're a Go programmer, so Quentin and I have been working together pretty closely on Pagan. I'm really, really grateful for his enthusiasm helping me put together the parsing expression grammar notation references. If you want to know about that, go to pagan.dev, pegn.dev for that. But he also has been co-organizing this FOSDEM thing, and people know, they've heard me rant about conferences in the past, but this has all the elements of a good conference as far as, if you ask me. First of all, it's free. Secondly, it's all video saved, so you can go back and watch them for the next 2 months while you're coding or something. And it has great people who believe in free and open source software, so there's a good chance you would bump into somebody that you'd be interested in working with. I certainly have loved working with Quint. And so, yeah, just do it. Just go do it. Now, I obviously am not going to be able to get through all of this today, so I'm going to go back to coding here in a bit, but I wanted to take a moment to just point this out and to encourage as many people as possible to participate. If you really truly care about free and open source software and you want to change the world, it doesn't mean you have to give away everything you do for free, but it's a really great way to change the world, literally. I mean, Linux has done that clearly. I really love the topics here in Go. I just want to point out some of them. So I have been saying for a long time that Go is an ideal cybersecurity language. And I know that because I had to use Perl to deploy endpoint collection tool, endpoint data collectors for compliance in 52,000 machines and 2,000 Fortune 500 companies at IBM, and I had to do it in Perl. I had to ship the interpreter and everything. And if you were to do Python, you have to do the same thing. We used a thing called Indigo Perl, by the way, back in the time. It would convert Perl to an exe, which is really just a Perl interpreter wrapped up as a Perl. It was a Perl virtual environment, technically speaking, but nobody called it that. But now you have Go. So the Go means you can cross-compile and you can ship platforms and everything. And so that makes it a really great cybersecurity language, not to mention the fact that it's got every standard library you could ever care about related to encryption and transports and HTTP and everything, all built in. So this is one I'm really looking forward to watching. And another one I'm really looking forward to watching is this one. I mean, there's so many. I'm just kind of excited. I'm not going to be able to watch them all right now. I'm getting ready to take on a full-time job next week. So in addition to the mentoring, which I talked about earlier on this stream, if you want to follow that. I'm going to be doing a lot of live mentoring now, just in case you're wondering, so that people can watch the mentoring as it happens, as opposed to giving up my live streaming period. Go without wires, programming Bluetooth using Go and TinyGo. So I've been following TinyGo for a long time because I'm really into ARM chips, and my wife's into art, and so it's been, she's coding stuff to make sculptures move for herself and for Bob Troutman, who's a pretty famous artist who's got his wood carvings moving around and stuff like that. You owe him a project, by the way. So yeah, why can't other compilers choose to close the gap on cross compiling? Well, we can talk about that. Mostly because all those other languages can't cross compile. So Go is the fastest language to write to do cross compilation. Rust could do it. Rust could do it if it wanted to. Rust doesn't have as much internal support within the language for that sort of thing. Linux command line is the only one I know of. Power tools, Unix Power Tools is a good one. Yeah, Unix Power Tools, Linux Power Tools. I should put that on my book list. You're gonna laugh, but if you really want to go deeper into Bash scripting, just read the man page. I'm not I'm not even kidding. I've learned so much from the man page that isn't covered anywhere. For example, CD path. You have no idea how many people I've talked to, professional developers and Linux people, who have never heard of CD path in Bash. They have never heard that you can do associative arrays in Bash. They have never heard about some of the parameter expansion. They didn't know that you could use parameter expansion to make uppercase, force uppercase, and lowercase. There's so many things in the Bash man page, little nuggets. Complete -C. Didn't know about it until I read the man page. There are at least 12 really significant discoveries I've made that are not covered in any of the dozens of books that I've read about Linux and Unix over the years. And I didn't discover them, and frankly, some of them until last year. Putting a backslash in front of any command automatically disables the alias lookup and goes straight to the binary that's in your path. All of these little tips you cannot find unless you go straight to the man page. So it is a little dense. I think somebody was saying it's like 800 pages long. I wouldn't suggest printing it out, but it's exhaustive and awesome, and not that bad of a read. RTFM. There's a better way. Well, I think you should learn POSIX shell also. I still believe that. I believed it really seriously before my 2020 experiment. The 2020 experiment for me was learning Bash and allowing myself to use all of Bash. I've always used it, but I didn't really know the difference between double brackets and single brackets and blah, 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 and regular expression. Everything. So I allowed 2020 was my year of Bash, and now I'm back to Perl. I'm back to Perl and POSIX. I like Bash. I use it as my interactive shell. I still think it's superior to Z shell, but I am not as complete. I've softened my opinion on whether I do Bash for all the things. For right now, all my scripts are either in POSIX shell or Perl. The end. Because Bash, you can go back and watch my videos this week. Bash does not do a number of really important things that I needed that Perl does. And a couple three things specifically, it doesn't do any Unicode matching for regular expressions, which I need for my little tool. And it doesn't have inline documentation that is efficient. Perl's documentation is far more efficient. And Perl has just overwhelmingly better support for scripting, period. It's just way better. Perl is absolutely the best command line scripting language on planet Earth. There's just no denying it. In fact, I am no longer even going to apologize for teaching Perl as a part of my beginner boost. I'm actually going to promote it, but I'm going to teach it in a way that encourages you to use it as a shell script and not an enterprise applications development platform, because that's not what it is. It never was. You should never use any CPAN modules, if you ask me. As soon as you have to download and load a CPAN module, you've violated the whole usefulness of Perl, if you ask me. So anyway, that's what I think. Those are the things I would focus on. Learning Perl is the best place to go there. Although the Perl intro is a man page. Perl's extensive documentation for that. I know Python. I would learn Python again, but it's not the first language I would learn. I would learn Python. I want a powerful terminal experience, and that's why I want POSIX and Perl and POSIX and Bash, and POSIX and Perl and Bash. And I only use Python if I need it because I have to install it and stuff. What's the Stanford study? All right, let me change the topic. And then I'm going to get back to my thing. What is the Stanford study about human nature? All right, so I'm going to need to find. All right, so if you're joining me about the Stanford study thing right now, I've been asked this question. I refer to this thing a lot. I've talked about it in the autodidactic habits of successful knowledge workers, and I'm going to just net it out for you. We can go find it, the links to it. If you want to find the links to it, you can. Let me just tell you, just cut to the chase. So where was this covered? I can't remember if it was the Saving Capitalism documentary. It was a documentary movie, and they interviewed the people who did the study, and I can't remember the name of it. I think it was he is a bit of the scripting language of a big program, so he told me this was unfortunate. I laid and said I am a pro. Yeah, I mean, I've learned Perl in a major way, but I don't think it should be used for enterprise applications development personally. I'm trying to. I don't remember that. I'm almost positive it was Saving Capitalism. I can't remember the name of it. Always say you're a pro. So the question, there's a Stanford study, and honestly, I can't. Here, I'm going to just look for it. Stanford, I should be a good knowledge worker. Stanford study with Monopoly. So they gave them a Monopoly game, and they gave one person, this was in a documentary, and I'm trying to remember the documentary, proves COVID-19, what? For the death rate is astronomical. No. Foundations of dynamic monopoly. No. Here we go. Outline Braveman's thesis in labor and monopoly capitalism. It's a monopoly. Hey, Vera. Monopoly game. Let's not talk. I don't want to dox everything. I talked to Avi, just so you know. I think you probably know. Competition terms, vocabulary. No, I'm trying to find it. Yeah, the resume. Yep, I'm probably gonna interview. I don't know how much I can even talk to you. Yeah, let's catch up. I've just actually, one of the things I talked about earlier in the video, Vera, was how I'm going to still do live streaming, but I'm going to combine mentoring and live streaming together, so it doesn't eat into my time. Here we go. It's just that becoming saboteurs, it takes mixing the competition, has become an urgent issue that concerns all members. So you go, supports peer support. I can't, where is it? This is dramatic math. Nope. There's lots of Stanford studies, right? I don't know where it is. You guys can find it. So I saw it was in The Problem with Capitalism, or Saving Capitalism, was a documentary about that. And it said that, I'll just cut to the chase. Did you find it? I know. I want to find it. You guys have a resource you can read while I'm talking about it. That's why I'm doing this. This is how all my videos are. Very messy. I don't polish them and edit them. I wouldn't do it. I don't have time. Take Me to the River, Talking Heads. One of the best songs of all time. David Burns is a genius, man. He is. He's conducted orchestras and all kinds of stuff. Take me to the river. Monopoly and distribution of wealth. This is it. All right. So a number of things you have to know about Monopoly, first of all. All right. So I'm going to do this. This is kind of fun. So there's actually an Adam Ruins games or something like that they talk about the origins of Monopoly. So first of all, I want to talk about that. So the Monopoly game, and without getting too big into the history of Monopoly, I just want to really summarize the story about it and let you, as I like to boost people into their own research. I don't like to just give you all the answers. It's more fun when you do discovery and reading yourself. So just know that the game Monopoly that we know and love or hate today is not the original game. The original game was conceived by a woman, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, but she made it as an educational game, and it had two components to it. It had the monopolistic component that we know now, and it had another part, and so you could play the game in two ways. You could play it either as a capitalist or as a socialist, and you could play it and show how, and the game was created to illustrate the dichotomy between the two systems, and how they both can be abused and blah, blah, blah. It was meant to give an illustration of, a very visceral kind of example of how these systems can affect you. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. You know what happened? Pure on capitalism. Somebody got a hold of the thing. She shared it. She didn't copyright it or patent it or anything. Somebody got a hold of her idea at a party. A guy, of course, a capitalist pig, who got a hold of it, chopped out the part about the understanding part about socialism, took the monopoly part, went over to whatever, was it Hannah? I don't remember the people that they did. I can't remember. It was, I want to say Hasbro or whatever. And he not only patented it, even though it was hers, and this all come up later, and because there were court cases and stuff like that. So, but he got all the money for it. So he literally played the Monopoly version of the game, stuck it to the woman who created the thing in the first place, and they'd made all the money for it by selling it off and then saying it was his. The true story. So you have to know that history about Monopoly. People play Monopoly and they love it or hate it. My grandma used to hate me playing it because I would destroy her every time. Maybe because I cared. I was a little bit competitive as a kid, and not a little. I was the oldest. So, and I used to think, well, that's just fun. This game's not fun. It's just everybody is just suffering the whole time. That was meant to be an illustration of what goes wrong when 1%ers get all the control of everybody else, and you can't even function anymore. All right. So given that the nature of Monopoly and how it is designed to create a situation where there's people who are overwhelmingly wealthy, it's no surprise that the Stanford study used this, and the Stanford study went into things saying, the way that I heard about it was they cited this study to illustrate how people feel like they deserve what they get. Oh, back to FOSDEM sequence. So people think they deserve what they get. And it was absolutely amazing. And I think it's saving capitalism, but you have to see the video from this study. You just won't believe me until you see the videos. They show the videos. They have video footage of every one of these games, and they've selected some of these games where the two people were playing. And so the basis of the game was, you guys got the link, right? The basis of the game, what they did study is they gave, as I understand it, they gave one of the players double the starting cash, and they gave the other player the regular amount, and they played. And when they first started playing, they're like, "Oh, I have more money, right?" But the really terrifying result is that every single person, every single one, they had 45 people in the study or something, I think I remember. And I think you probably have to pay for it, goddammit. I would have to find that video clip. That's probably a YouTube clip of it, but anyway. Every single person in the study who obliterated the competition felt like they deserved it. Not a single one stated that the reason that they won was because of their lead in the beginning. Not a single one. And the psychological conclusion, and this guy talks about it in this thing, this idea that it'll trickle down is total bogus. It's totally bogus, because when people get money, this study confirms that people think they deserve the money for some reason. They think that they've done something to earn it, no matter how big their start was in life. And it makes you look at yourself and go, well, gosh, I always love to say, well, I worked hard. I worked hard. I worked 5 jobs. I worked 3 jobs in college. Blah, blah, blah. You know what? There are a lot of people who didn't even have the opportunity to go to college. There's people who didn't even have parents growing up. I mean, everybody has been given a head start in some way. But the really terrifying thing about this was it's undeniable objective proof that humans are not mean. They're not doing it to be assholes, but they fundamentally believe that they deserve and that they will get, they used to call them, temporarily disenfranchised millionaires. All Americans it's the American dream to become a millionaire, blah, blah, blah. But when they actually get it, they feel like they deserve it because it's just our nature. It's in our nature to rationalize that we did. And some of the responses, you just won't believe them. Some of the responses from people when they're asking them, they say, well, and they actually direct this one woman. There's a guy and a woman. The woman was asked point blank, what do you think your achievement if you know all the sides of the medal? Right. This one woman, she was asked point blank in this video, in this documentary, I think it was Saving Capitalism. What do you think of the fact that you started out with double the money? And she goes, oh yeah, that helped me for a little bit, but it was me. The rest of the game was all me. Kid you not. Without batting an eye, she was like, well, yeah, that gave me an advantage, but that was only at the beginning of the game, just for a little bit at the beginning of the game. Monopoly is all about steamrolling down the road with that advantage and parlaying it, into a thing. And every single one of them had a similar situation. They had done these psychological gymnastics to justify that they deserved it. This is why trickle-down economics is bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. Because the people who get the money, do you think Trump I'm going to pick on him for a second. Do you think Trump for a second thinks he doesn't deserve his wealth, his so-called wealth? He doesn't really have it anyway. Do you think he deserves it? Absolutely. Does he think that being born with a silver spoon in his mouth, you know why? No. You know what he'll say? He'll say, well, my father worked really hard for all of that. And his father before him worked really hard. And his fathers worked him before really hard. And his father before him had 25 slaves that he stole from Africa, but he deserved it. This whole idea of trickle-down economics is total bullshit. And this whole idea of distribution of wealth and stuff and people deserving the wealth. And this is why, and actually they take on the inheritance. If we could take away inheritance, there's another guy who made a joke about this on Twitter. He goes, it should be like that Nintendo game. I think it's Zelda. It's like you can only carry 999 gold. After that, if you keep trying to carry gold, it just spills out on the ground and you can't carry it anymore. You have too much. And that's a very socialist, it gets thrown under the bus all the time, saying that you should actually cap wealth. That takes away all motivation. Nobody's going to want to do anything, blah, 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 blah. And that sounds very, very Russian Leninist communism. That's that kind of thing. I'm not suggesting any of that. But the idea that you deserve the generational wealth that you have inherited over the years, that it's a part of your calling, that God wants you to be wealthy because God gave you this extra money. Absolute bullshit. And it's actually really, really hurting humanity because people are not giving it up. And the reason I brought it up at all is because depending on people's charity and Patreon and stuff like that, you know why? Because everyone out there, the percentage of people, including me, the percentage of people who can justify, why do you think Google is owning us? Google is owning us because we think we deserve free. Well, I shouldn't have to pay for my email address that's running on millions of servers that cost thousands of dollars, millions of dollars a year to run. They should be giving me that money for free. They should be giving me that service for free. It's like the one clip from Stallman as he's trying to explain why free and open source software is a good thing, and it's just absolutely laughable. He says, if you go home and you write a good program, it's like making a plate of cookies. You've put your time and you made that plate of cookies. If you're the next day when you bring your code to the class, you should share all of your code with the class that you made. You should, just like cookies, you can't bring cookies to class unless you share it with everybody. That's bullshit. Absolute bullshit. So I'm not I'm not suggesting you should give all of your hard work away for free. You should be remunerated for a reward, however your society decides to do that for you. But you also don't deserve it. Let's start with the fact that you have a computer and an internet connection. How about that? If people say, "Well, I taught myself everything I know. I deserve every dime of this money because I am an autodidact and I taught myself everything I knew." Yeah, you had a home with electricity and a computer connected to the internet. Half of the world does not have that. Half of the world does not have an internet connection still today. Nobody even counts them. Millions and millions of people. What is it? They don't, or the trillions of people don't even have it. They don't even have a connection to the internet. So there's a couple of things to take out of this. One of them is, if you depend on people's generosity to support you, you'll fail, because people are by nature not generous. It doesn't make them bad people. It doesn't make them bad people. They just, they, us find ways to justify what we have. We naturally, according to the study and others, we naturally find ways to say, I deserve this. And therefore, when you start to hit, wealth, you just keep snowballing, because you think, oh, look, and you'll either say, hey, I worked really hard, if you're an atheist or something. But if it's even worse if you believe in God, because then it's like, well, God, what's that guy's name? God, I can't even think about him rationally. It makes me so angry. I mean, he let people almost drown and freeze and everything outside of his megachurch and during the flood, the Katrina flood. And they finally opened his doors so he could come in, because he didn't want to open it. And then he had to be convinced to open up his megachurch to save lives, because Jesus doesn't want me to ruin my church. That's the kind of guy that, I mean, if you, and it's not just him, there's a lot of people like him who think that they deserve it, including me. There's probably some way that I feel like I'm entitled. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because somebody asked me, open source, free and open source software. And, Joel Osteen, yeah, thank you for that reminder, piece of shit. You know what Jesus is going to say to Joel Osteen? Get thee hence, I never knew thee. That's what he's going to say to Joel Osteen. Yeah, he's got a one-way ticket to hell, if there is one. I mean, he has proven everything. What was the one thing that Jesus got pissed off about, if you believe in Jesus? I mean, really, seriously. Where people in power use a mechanism to the masses of dirty work while saying we deserve it and they don't, right? I'm getting a little bit spun up because I don't like thinking about this. I don't like thinking about it. I don't like admitting our own human nature, and that goes for me. The second I think that I don't have Joel Osteen in me somewhere, that's the second where I start to go downhill. As soon as I forget that inside of me there's a Joel Osteen someplace who believes God has blessed me with his beneficence to own all of this church that you can't come in during a hurricane because Jesus doesn't want mud on the carpet. I mean, as soon as you let that thing, that self-entitlement that this Stanford study has proven overwhelmingly is in all of us, no matter, it's even worse when you think that it's not, that's not me. No, you're actually doing it when you say that. When you say that, you're actually doing it. You're denying it, because that's exactly what they did. They denied it. They found all kinds of cognitive dissonance ways to justify their behavior. And then they became greedy assholes, just like all of us. And these are good people. I mean, some of them are like really, you can tell they're really kind people just in their demeanor while they're being interviewed on this thing. And it's like, but they believe they deserve it. So, and they'll find some way, whatever your ethos is, they'll find some way to justify it. If you're a Joel Osteen, it's God, it's Jesus. Jesus says, oh, Jesus wouldn't knock out there's no money changers in my temple. There's no money changers in my temple. God wants you to be affluent. God wants you to be wealthy. That'll be $5.99. They're called sophists. They're Pharisees and Sadducees. Vipers is what Jesus called them. Jesus's greatest wrath was, if you believe in it. I mean, look, I know the New Testament inside and out. I was a missionary. I'm not a Christian anymore, in case you know. But I tell you what, there is one area. If you read through all of the New Testament, there is one group of people that pissed Jesus off, if Jesus could be pissed, more than any other. And they were the Sadducees, the Pharisees, who enjoyed wealth and prosperity at the hands of hypocritical lies. The one time Jesus, whether or not he was angry or not when he did it, the one time when he was violent, he turned over the thing, what did he do? How dare you do this commerce in my house? It's, the whole camel thing, right? People justify the shit out of that. They're like, oh, he wasn't talking about wealthy people. He was talking about people. It's actually not that hard for a camel to go through the path. How many different takes on that? It's easier for a rich man. It's easier. It's hard. It's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get even to heaven. You have no idea how many different takes and interpretations and metaphorical comparisons that I've read about that one thing. You know why? Because that's the one time Jesus says, no, very plainly, it's like, if you seek wealth, if that is your goal in life, you're not going to heaven. And whether or not you believe in Jesus or not, I think it's hilarious, because Jesus overwhelmingly proved the person who baptized him, John the Baptist, lived with nothing in the desert. He looked up to him because it was his purpose to teach, to take on, to bring forth all that his father wanted. I mean, I'm spouting Christianity here. I don't particularly believe in Christianity, but the mythology and the stories that are involved there are very relevant. And if you do think it's real, then you can't ignore the fact that Jesus had one group of people, or two kinds of people, that he totally hated. Not hated, but like called out all the time. Pharisees, Sadducees, vipers. He used his strongest language for the people who hypocritically made money off of the gospel, pretending to be in the gospel. And guess who's right there with them? Joel Osteen. Joel Osteen pretends to be a Christian, and he is the worst piece of shit on planet Earth in terms of Jesus Christianity. Jesus would have said, feed my hungry, feed the masses, you're my hand, you are the hand of me on earth, all this stuff. Not for Joel Osteen. Joel Osteen's like, oh no, I have to have a mega church and then a mega thing over here, and it's a good tax write-off. And yeah, Christians need to know how to manage their taxes properly. I'm sorry. Trump is worse. The reason I'm picking on Joel Osteen is because he does it in the name of Jesus. And there are, I mean, God knows there are plenty of people who, in the name that and I don't know if it's that they have actually, I believe, after watching the Stanford study, to bring it back to that, I believe Joel Osteen believes that shit. I believe he actually thinks he deserves it. He actually does. He thinks he does, because he's playing the Monopoly game. He's playing the Monopoly game, and God has blessed him. He's found a way. That's why I brought it up. Some people will find a way to say, well, I worked hard. So people who might not be particularly religious, they find a way to justify their advantages in life in other ways. Well, I worked hard. Well, my dad worked hard. Well, blah, blah, blah. And, I sacrificed when it was really important. And now I'm reaping the benefits of the sacrifice I made early on. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to justify it that are documented in this study. And one of those ways, that not in this particular study, right? But in life, one of those clear ways to do it is God blessed me with this wealth. And I mean, you hear it so much, right? Yeah. So, wasn't Trump autographing the Bible or something? Oh yeah, I don't want to. Yeah. I mean, that guy is he's just, when an entire society for psychological health universally agrees and makes a public statement, which they never do, saying this guy is not sane in the head, you should take so you should take that. I mean, he still doesn't think he lost. That's just crazy. Anyway, so I don't want to get into the Trump thing because it'll just degrade. It's not so much about that. What it's about is, and I'm not pointing fingers at Trump and Joel Osteen. What I'm pointing fingers at is me. I'm pointing finger at me at the Joel Osteen and, God forbid, the Trump and me and you. We have them. Those tendencies are in us. And as soon as you stop acknowledging that you are potentially subjected to those things, you will become them if you're not careful. And I just that's why I brought this up, because the Stanford study is a scientific study that proves what might be counterintuitive. It's more intuitive for you to think, well, when I get all this wealth and stuff, I'm obviously going to want to share it. I'm going to give it away and stuff. And there are people who do that, but when they do it, they're doing it from a paternalistic point of view. They're like, oh, look at how beneficent I am. Look at how awesome I am. Here's your stuff. Not everybody. There's people who get wealth and legitimately give it away at different levels of distribution. But the natural human tendency is not to do that. At best, you're going to take this paternalistic superiority complex and say, look at me, I'm helping you, right? At best, even if you don't do it and you do it in clandestine secret, inside, you're going to feel like, oh, look at how cool I am. I'm so good. I'm helping all these people. Now, you're going to try your hardest to fight that urge, but that's this study proves that humans love to make sure that they feel like they deserve. So it's whether it brings up another philosophical question I don't want to get into. Is there any true altruism? Which is, I actually debated that in honors, in my honors class in college. It's a really interesting topic, but I give it to the bill collectors, to the store. Yeah. Thinking that we can be like those people is definitely a scary thing. It is. And that's, look, it's really easy to do. It's really easy to see all of these flaws in everybody else because you can observe them. You know what's really hard to do? To see those flaws in you, in me. God knows I have them. They're all on display on my live stream for everybody to see. How's it going? So this is why we have each other. We're just wrapping up this little thing. So this is why we have each other. I'm convinced that if there's a reason for this whole shebang that we have to be here, it's because we have to help each other out with these things. It's not because we're gonna like pull down the other person or point out all their flaws, but we need to create dialogue and which is what Paulo Freire suggests, and we need to put these things in check. We need to look inside more than outside externally, which is why I like more of the Eastern philosophies and approaches to life, because they encourage you to look inward and not so much outward, and that's how the world's going to become a better place, from within, like fix this system from within. And it's how political change has happened. Represent Us, they actually document the strategy for changing policy and corruption in the United States by starting at the local level. And you can compare that to fixing the problem within you and then within your family and helping, through example mostly, right? And then having that bubble out into your local city government and then changing your city government's policies, and then those influence the state. Like, for example, same-sex marriage and things like that. Those things were all changed, not through some like draconian rule and massive protests. They were changed by change bubbling up at the local level, just like Georgia. This is what happened in Georgia. In Georgia, they went out and campaigned locally, and the change, came from within. And then that bubbles up from within, and then that eventually changes public policy. And that's how every major change has happened. It's been documented very well by the Represent Us movement, which is a bipartisan movement, 100% bipartisan, to initiate change at the national level. So yeah. Much of our social constructs nowadays are superficial and very shallow. I agree. Believing in God years ago, I felt like some weird thinking people. Yeah, I mean, not believing in God doesn't mean that you are an unethical person, by the way. That, in fact, some would argue the opposite. But yeah, get to a place. Yeah. I think the best example of that to me is for me personally, is a guy named Penn Jillette. And he really changed my mind. I've talked about this a lot, but to get back to some coding, Penn Jillette is an atheist who is very intelligent and very able to articulate the idea. Sam Harris is another one who talks a lot about not necessarily having a, the magician. You wouldn't believe it. I know, dude. Yeah, read his books and stuff. He's amazing. Go search for it here. S-Duck, Penn, Gillette, This I Know, NPR. It's just this tiny little segment. He's really smart. Yeah, he's really, really smart. And his book is just amazing too. Yeah. He's the thing that's, he's not just intellectually smart, he's emotionally intelligent. And I just really love that about him. I feel like there is nothing as called universal morality. Morality is always, well, that's a very relativist view, and that's fine. Or look, I don't necessarily want to debate philosophy right now, but I do, or talk about it, not debate it. But I think we should talk about it. I'm not trying to squelch anybody, but I just want to wrap up this particular segment, which is based on this Stanford study, which proves very objectively that, as much as it's counterintuitive, and we think that when you have money, you will share it with others, that and more than that, that just in general, all of us are inclined to believe we deserve what we have. What I want to know is if that also goes for deserving bad things. The study only shows that people will think that even though they got double the money to start the game, that by the end of the game, they will justify it and say, "Oh, that'll only help me for part of it. It was mostly me who won the game." That's what they'll say. They think they deserve it, and that's why they don't have any inclination to help anybody out, because they earned it. They believe they deserved it, no matter how big a start that they had. All of them, every single participant in this study, thought they deserved it by the end, and that's because humans believe we deserve stuff. That's why we don't pay for things. That's why we don't Patreon support people. That's why we don't, we find, well, I'll support them when I have more money because, I don't have any money right now. Or look, this is not a guilt trip. If you don't want to support me on a Patreon or anybody else, that's fine. This is not an NPR thing. It's not what it's about. But when we talk about we're talking about FOSDEM and free and open source software, right? And that, people put in most of their lives for free and open source software and still feel guilty about asking for money for their contributions. And that's bullshit. And the reason for that is because other people, well, if you truly believed in open source, you would contribute your work. You don't tell that to a doctor. So that, then became, I'm kind of summarizing here, but that then became a conversation about, well, human nature. Yeah. And, what is our natural human nature? And our natural human nature is to justify that we deserve the prosperity we have, and that we shouldn't be helping anybody else out. We shouldn't be, here's a good one. I'm not suggesting any particular position on this thing I'm about to say. All right. Because it's a really, really hot button topic. Do you want my number two? No, Vera. I knew it was going to become that. I didn't want it to. Many people don't believe they deserve bad things, but others will believe others deserve bad things that come to them. Isn't that funny? So it's just the natural human nature is the cognitive dissonance is to believe that we're just human. It was a joke. Okay. I feel like collective morality of the power group and popular group is what succeeds and becomes mainstream. Yeah, I think it's true. I think Paulo Freire would completely agree with you based on his book, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, which I finished some time ago. I talk about it all the time. I absolutely agree. I think the reason you see it is because it becomes a family value. When the values of society and the people in power suddenly start manifesting in family values, then you know that it's happened. In fact, there's a whole section in the book about how the family unit has, particularly in the nuclear doesn't talk about this, but the nuclear family unit, the one from the 50s where, oh no, you can't have an extended family. What are you talking about? You don't want grandma living with you. What are you? Some poor communist, Brazilian nation or something like that? It's like, what are you? No. We are the nuclear family. It's one of the worst things. And meanwhile, the actual best way for most humans to live, it's the book I talk about all the time. So it's Pedagogy of the Oppressed. I talk about it in my intro. It keeps coming up because this is a guy in 1968 who has pretty much nailed what's wrong with human nature and almost all of our societies without even really thinking about it. I mean, he thought about it a lot because he lived through it, and but it's just fascinating. It's basically, it makes you question a bunch of reasons that you might have done something, and but the chapter on how oppressive societies and oppressors infiltrate family living is just, it's terrifying and so enlightening at the same time, because it's like, oh my God. So, and you can just start looking at your own family. I mean, mine was more liberal, but it's not even about being liberal. It's the current people in power in Brazil hate this guy. Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. He is like, yeah, yeah. The thing I really love about him, he clearly has some biases. I think he may even be a little bit racist. I mean, who wasn't in the 60s, but you know, Guy Rivera, I think he talks about Guy. I think he really liked Guy. I forget his name. I'm saying his name wrong. The one who's you know, on all the T-shirts and everything that the 4chan people got a hold of and everybody. He doesn't particularly buy into any particular revolutionary, but Che Guevara, yeah, that's it. Che Guevara, thank you. Did you know that he was a professional doctor? And in some of the towns that he would go into, he would actually do surgeries. I had a look at it. We'll have a look at his works. Yeah. Che Guevara, yeah, I had no idea. And I don't know anything else about Che Guevara. In fact, if I read another sort of revolution, I didn't even know Paulo Freire was a revolutionary, inspiring kind of person. I didn't know this. His book was banned in Arizona in 1970. Can you believe that? In America, his book was, I think, was it 70? Or was it was like, so, and then there's a whole thing in educational circles called Freirean education. And this is how I heard about it, because Wisecrack did a thing on Bill and Ted, Deep or Dumb, and they cited Paulo Freire, who says, you know, attacks banker style education, you know, deposit the information into the head, as opposed to promoting experiences that help people to learn on their own, which is what Bill and Ted is all about. And so Freire was behind that thinking, but the pedagogy of the oppressed, he goes into it, but it's cited by academics. But he wasn't talking about changing education. He was talking about educating the oppressed, helping them see their own state of oppression, so that they can make the change from within, and they can become revolutionaries in the best sense, not in, you know, the off of their heads kind of sense. Yeah, I know. Book banned. I was looking over any education that denounces American capitalism. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why. Banned books. Liberating God. He doesn't directly take on belief in God, but the deduction from it is very clearly that religious organizations are used by oppressive societies. There's no debate about that. I mean, come on. Come on. You just have to look at just history on the surface, according to any take on history, is full of oppressors taking on religion to facilitate their oppression. I mean, over and over and over again. So you can't, whether or not the religion is the reason for the oppression or the oppressors used religion for the oppression, that's a different question. But there's just no question that religion has been associated with oppression throughout history, period. And so, you know, and religious people don't like to hear that, particularly oppressive religious people. They're like, get that book out of here. Basically, the book promotes critical thinking and opening your eyes and looking around a little bit. It doesn't tell you to go cut anybody's head off. It just says, open your eyes, look around, and note your state. And here, maybe consider that this is, and it also talks about how to get people to do that without paternalistically saying, "Hey, you're being oppressed. You need to stop being oppressed so that I can oppress you instead of that person." It's just super amazing. And that is fucking dangerous. It's fucking dangerous to the status quo to have people start opening their eyes and asking questions. As soon as anybody, my wife, I love this. This is so much. I love this story. My wife was raised in Catholic school, and she tells the story all the time about how the nuns hated her. You know why they hated her? One thing. Why? She would ask the question why all the time. She goes, "I don't know why, Doris. Just be quiet and shut up." Oh, that's why I love her so much. She's the girl. She's the Catholic girl. Everybody should marry a Reformed Catholic girl. They're so awesome. I want to just go have coffee with her now. She just makes me so proud. I love her to death. Proud is, I don't mean proud in the negative sense. Religion is deeply rooted in daily politics. Oh God, yeah. It leads to a lot of riots. Yeah. I got expelled in 8th grade for questioning religion in Catholic school. Yeah. That's all I have to do is ask the question why. How to deal with his morality. He even took an oath while becoming a doctor to save lives. Isn't that amazing? So this is something else. Up until I read Freire's book, I had allowed myself to be manipulated, I guess, by popular culture and to associate Che Guevara with 4chan and frogs, and that you cannot be farther from an accurate portrayal of who Che Guevara is. And I don't even want to speculate right now. I can just say what I know from the book, from the Paulo Freire's book, about him citing a situation where he would go into, the reason that I think Freire liked Che Guevara was because he did it right. He didn't paternalistically come in and say, "You're being oppressed. We're going to help you. Let's go fight." He went into the societies and the communities, and he worked with the people. He got his hands dirty. He bled with them, literally. He helped them heal, and in the process, they saw that they were being repressed. That's the pedagogy of the oppressed, right there. Pedagogy of the oppressed is becoming a member of the oppressed as best you can, like literally bleeding with them. And this is one of the reasons I love Hunger Games so much. I love the movie versions of Hunger Games because she never gives in. She's constantly proving that she remained a part of the oppressed, even when she has every opportunity to become the leader. And I love that sentiment, and that's the same thing that's all over in Freire's book. And now that I know more about Che Guevara, I'm going to go read about him and not have this misguided opinion of, oh, that's the guy on the T-shirts that 4chan loves to meme. That's not all there is to him. So I want to read about him. Anytime we talk about revolution and oppression and stuff like that, I get really worried because I've studied a lot of revolution in the past. Most of the revolution I've studied was the French Revolution, the Russian Revolution. I was a Russian major. And so when you look at those revolutions, you see how well a revolution can implode on itself. And reading Freire's book was really interesting because it talks about the antidote to that. The antidote to that is the people don't know how to be free. The oppressed don't know how to do it. They've been trained by their oppressors. They don't realize it, but they've been trained by their oppressors. So when they throw off their oppressors, they become the oppressors again. And they don't have any. They haven't been taught. There's no pedagogy of the oppressed. There's no way to show them that unless they remain connected. The first time a revolutionary starts to say, "Well, now that we have power, let's have a symbolic Hunger Games." What? Have you not learned anything? Then they've separated themselves from or if they start to say, "Well, we're not going to ask what people think here because it takes too much time to do that. I don't trust the rest of the people that I am claiming to be a part of. I don't trust them because it's going to take them too long to make a decision. So I'm going to just make a decision." Well, now you're on your way to becoming a totalitarian already, and you were the revolutionary, and now you're the totalitarian. It happens all the time, and it's because, and this is why I'm really, really interested to read about Che Guevara, because apparently, according to Freire, my initial contact with him, Katniss, the idea of Katniss, you start to question everything. right? And the if you don't want to read the book, the essence of the book is get people to ask the question why by living and becoming one of them so that they trust you. That is the pedagogy of the oppressed in a nutshell. If you take part, if like Che Guevara, and you are healing people in the community, and you truly empathize with these people, you are with them, you are bleeding, you are fighting side by side with them, you are in every way, emotionally, not necessarily violently, right? But you are a part of the society. You don't build a big fucking $8 million hotel in the middle of a hurricane rescue effort for all of the people all the doctors and everybody who are going to help all the people who are suffering. And he cites that particular case in the intro, the guy that does the intro, because that's what they tried. That's how they tried to help Cuba. First thing they did with all that money is they built a big posh 4-star hotel for all of the doctors and everybody from the West to go stay in while they went there to go help all these people dying in the streets. Because God help them. No, we're not going to actually suffer with them. I'm not one of them. It's not my fault there was a hurricane here. I don't ever be a guy who just talks and doesn't do what he says. If I ever am, I want you to slap me. Figuratively or really. And I married somebody who will slap me. If I start to get off track, she'll be like, "What are you thinking?" No, and for all the right reasons, right? As soon as you feel like this doesn't apply to you, you're fucked. You're fucked. You're on the road to hell. As soon as you feel like any of this doesn't apply to you, you're in big trouble. And it doesn't mean you should have imposter syndrome every second of the day. It just means you should be learning to ask the question why and then looking inside. And that's why I like Eastern philosophy. Where did I put my trout? Yes. You should definitely do that. I'm sorry I'm swearing so much, but yeah, it was banned in Arizona, it looks like. The band, a bunch of quotes. Oh, right. Ferry does quote Marx. This is something that's really unfortunate. So Ferry cites some of the stuff that Marx says. I don't know. I'm going to get in trouble even saying this, but it's unfortunate that you can't take the writings of someone at face value. Marx actually said a bunch of stuff that makes a lot of sense. But Marx had a very tragic life as well. He ended up becoming more of a communist. Which, by the way, if you don't know what the meaning of the word communist is, you need to make sure you understand that. Look, I just by saying those two things together and the fact that I learned Russian, I'm immediately going to be categorized by 50% of the Americans out there watching this. They're going to be like, oh, this is just some propagandist who's like spewing communist propaganda. And he's, oh my God, he thinks Che Guevara was a good person and Freire who loves Marx. And now he says even to read Marx. Oh my God. People because they don't want to read. They have been totally and completely conditioned by their oppressors to immediately overreact to a bunch of hot button buzzwords that were put in place by the oppressed to make sure that you don't do it. Just like the goat's head is associated with occultism. The goat's head, the satanic occult goat head, was actually a symbol of nature and prosperity for the Druids. And the Catholics took that symbol and beat the crap out of it and made sure everybody thought that it was associated with pure evil. Because the oppressed always take over this symbology and the symbolism and that stuff of the people that they're oppressing, and they turn it bad to control them. They've been doing it forever. And people who aren't asking why, who don't have their eyes open, are being manipulated by it. It's like memes and propaganda have been going around since the beginning of time. It's been always happening. And you don't have to be that person. You can like be a critical thinker. You know what the biggest enemy to those kind of oppressive regimes is? A symbol of Venus and able to produce a child, right? It's like getting conditioned to crack down on Manjaro, Z-Shell, and Flash users. Yeah. Look, when I crack down on Manjaro, Z-Shell, and Flash users, first of all, I tell you why I had an experience with Manjaro. And the second thing, you got to give me credit, I tell you to make your own decision, right? And that goes for Z-Shell. And my position on Z-Shell, by the way, has softened in the last week. Because Z Shell is a perfectly fine pick if you're not going to be writing bash scripts, if you're going to be writing Perl scripts. So Z Shell plus Perl, maybe not as bad, or POSIX plus Perl, which is what I'm doing, as bash. It's really up to you. I hate Z Shell because I think it's an inferior shell and it's not the default, and I don't know why you would install it because it's not the default. Make your own decisions. I have never once told you to do what I say. Never once. There's a little blurb from Chomsky on socialism. Yeah. And again, with Chomsky is another one of these guys where he says a lot of great things and a lot of things that are controversial and weird and scary. Make your own decisions and don't write off people just because somebody else told you that they were bad, right? Be your own person. Be a critical thinker. That is the pedagogy of the oppressed. The pedagogy of the oppressed is teaching people to make their own decisions and come to their own conclusions and to open their eyes and ask why. That's it. So, and that goes for Z Shell. And be willing to change. And that's a harder thing to teach. You can't really teach that, right? And that goes for me. Strong opinions, weakly held. I change my opinion all the time. Sometimes I spell weekly with 2 E's because I change my opinion every week. Yeah. And how the term has taken completely different propagandists. Yeah. And that's, see, but you know what? This is what the oppressed do. The oppressors take on the language of the oppressed and they infiltrate it. And Freire describes this very eloquently. It's amazing. They take on the language and symbols of the oppressed, they infiltrate them, and they turn them into something else with marketing. And the Nazis were really good at this. Oh my God. They were like, it's just terrifying how good the Nazis were at that. To this day, the Nazi manual, this is in Happyish if you like the series. To this day, the Nazi manual for like is used by marketers because it is full of like effective ways to do marketing. They're some of the best marketers in history. Z Shell was the thing that allowed me to get more comfortable with customizing .dot files and playing the terminal more with things like my Z Shell. But now it feels clunky, right? And that's fine. And I look, you guys, I have fun. Right? Z Shell's going too far. Look, we're not going to, I'm going to stop beating people up for using it. I want to believe I've never called you a moron for using Z Shell. It's not about that. It's not about you. It's not about the people who use it. It's about a technology that I think is inferior for a specific purpose. And for that kind of thing, everything is free game. And I think shying away from disagreement on technologies is getting us in trouble just as much as fighting about it. So, also used by the military. Yep. I've been considered dropping Windows completely and turning my gaming rig into a Linux machine. Well, that's up to you. I obviously support that. I don't want to dual boot. Yeah. I do not like dual booting. It's actually less money for you. Actually, what you should do, if you want to continue to game, wait for your rig to get old and then put Linux on that and then get a better gaming rig and then just leave it as Windows and don't be sad. You can get a kick-ass Linux system for $300. You don't have to have a massively awesome GPU for a Linux system. It's half the cost of the computer. So I'm not even exaggerating. You pay $1,000, you'll have a sweet, Linux system. But you can get a sweet Linux system, particularly a desktop, for less than $500, and then save up your money and get that sweet Windows rig, play all your Windows games, and don't even look back. You can have two. There's no reason you can't have two computers unless it's a money thing. And if it is a money thing, then dual booting ain't going to help you at all anyway. So, and if that's the case, then put Linux on there. Tell yourself you're not going to play any games until you get a job doing Linux that's going to pay 3 times more than whatever you're making now. And then buy yourself a gaming rig as a reward. How about that? It is free and it don't jail you. Yeah. Hey, GeForce. Is it possible to make Chrome extensions with Golang? No. You can't make any Chrome extension without JavaScript, as far as I know. I talk about ZShell. Oracle VM VirtualBox. Yes. Yes and no. I go back and forth on VirtualBox. I inevitably get annoyed by how slow it is. So I would rather have hardware with my system on it. But yes, that is an alternative. Linux box at the same time. You should be able to run, you should know how to use VirtualBox anyway, or VMware. You should know how to use a virtual, particularly if you're cybersecurity. Because if you're in cybersecurity, you need to run VirtualBox and VMware, and you need to break the Windows machines if you're going to do pen testing. Actually, if you get certified, I read the docs from Offensive Security about their highest level of certification. And for that, you have to have a system that'll run 2 or 3 VMs at the same time, because you're looking for Windows bugs and you're exploiting them, and you're doing it in a VM, so it's nice and safe. So, so that's the way to do that. Use Intel box, and they're fine to start with. I completely agree. There's almost always a free computer out there somewhere waiting for you that's just in somebody's corner that they don't want to give away because it has their tax information on it, and they want to trust whoever's going to have it. So if you sell them, I'll wipe the disk drive and put Linux on there, they're like, oh yeah, you can have it for free then. Get it out of my attic. I don't need it. I don't know how many times I've heard that story. Anything from Oracle should be an auto ban. WSL2 was not what I wanted to be, sadly. And I don't want virtualization, right? I would agree. WSL2 would make me crazy unless I only had to use it every once in a while. Vera, I have a question for you. You don't have to get into the details. Are you using, for work, are you using a Windows machine right now or a Linux machine? You're using WSL2, right? Because you're on a work machine, and the work issued machine is the Windows machine, right? Yeah. I have a feeling I'm going to be joining you pretty soon. Doing that very thing. I'm just, because I learned recently that the place that I'm potentially going to go, I learned recently that the place I'm potentially going to go to has they require you to use a computer that they send to you, and that's not uncommon. But it does mean that I'm going to have to live in Windows again, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. You guys, everybody on the live stream will definitely benefit, because I'm going to have to learn to live in Windows again, even though I'm a Linux guy, and I have to do that. This is a good start. Frozen might be a bit limiting. Right. What distro do you use? WSL2. Yeah. Wait, in name. One way it is limiting. Get into the gateway. Look, if you I think what they're saying. We have a grumpy Artivix Rob all day. No, because you won't see me during that time. Yeah, I don't know how much, if anything, I'm going to be able to live stream of my new job if I get it. So that's yet to be determined, and I want to be completely above board on all of that. So, the WSL2 is going to be absolutely fine for me, because I can put Groovebox on it, and I can. I live in the terminal. Why do you think I live in the terminal? If I live in the terminal, not even WSL2 is a limiter for me, because I don't give a crap about the desktop environment. Linux people who don't like Windows are usually people who use the desktop environment in Linux as well. They debate about things like i3 versus GWM or whatever, and I don't care, because I live in the terminal. Another reason to live in the terminal. WSL2, WSL2 is supposedly easier now. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt. They've simplified the WSL2 installation, from what I read, as long as you have the most recent patch level, and that's really the hard part, right? They still don't have a package manager on Windows. I know. It is slow if using a lot of disk. Yep. Set version distro 2. Not in WSL2. Disk access is on par with hardware. Yes, it is. I won't even use WSL1. You guys know the difference, right? WSL1 is an emulation of a Linux kernel. WSL2 is a Linux kernel that's directly tied to the hardware. Yeah, that's why you should not use anything but WSL2. In fact, there's a massive bug in the clear command for WSL1. The clear command, this clear screen command, does not work at all. I hated that, because I was teaching, animation, and it won't even do it. Winget, yeah. WSL2, Chocolatey is the Microsoft thing. I probably will get into that at some point, but I'm not. I know about Chocolatey. I know about Chocolatey. I haven't used it a lot, but I have toyed with it. I was all Windows 3 years ago. 3 years ago, my entire lab was all Windows. And most of the people I mentor, by the way, are on Windows. Some of them are on Mac. Mac's easy, right? Just put in GNU utils, you're done. But yeah. But for Windows, it's a little trickier. WSL2 is, thank God, it's a thing. I mean, before that, it was all putty on a remote, DigitalOcean server or something. Clear is working for you, yeah. People told me it was nice. Was in the old Windows? No. We're talking about WSL. The clear command as implemented in WSL1 is a fail. It has a bug in it. It's pretty funny. Set-show won't work on WSL2. No, it does. Yep. Yeah, set-show works. I do set-show all the time. If they change that, I'm gonna be really pissed. If they change that, I know how to get around it though. so there. No, they have that set-show is a function of the shell. It's not a function of WSL2. That's a function of the shell. So if it's a bash shell, you can do set-show. Hyper-V virtualized computer. Yes, you are. Which is why it used to conflict with Docker and stuff in VMware, which it doesn't anymore. Thank God. That's the biggest conflict I'm going to try to avoid. Works fine. I use it all the time. Yeah. It wouldn't make any sense for it to not work on WSL2 because it might not work on PowerShell. So make sure you're not using PowerShell. Set-show will not work on PowerShell because it's not a PowerShell thing. Anyway, I need to take a break here. I'm going to officially change this to break time so people don't get the wrong idea. I think we're just talking about stuff, which we are. What time is it? 8:30. All right. I'm going to take a 20-minute break. And see if my wife's up. Break until 9. Well, I probably should take a longer one than that. I tell you the truth. I think I need to get myself all pretty and have a shower and stuff because I've got to do at 10 o'clock. We're going to start doing the WSL. We're doing the beginner boost stuff again. And I'm not going to lie. I am not looking forward to it. Mentally, I've already checked out and, decided that I don't want to do web development at all. And I still have half of the web design book to go through, and I'm not going to leave everybody hanging. So I'm going to go through that. But we're going to do it fast, man. I promise you we're going to go a lot faster now because I want to get out of it. I'm coming back. It's just I have to it's systemd setup. Oh boy. Systemd? You can set up systemd. You set up systemd WSL2? Nice. So I'm going to take at least a break for half an hour. That doesn't work fine. And then, yeah. Well, you know what? I tell you what. Let me just go get. Let me just take a little break, and then I'm actually going to sign off. Let's do that. I'll. Did I already change it? Did I already change the topic? Or did I not? No, I did. Damn it. Okay. Well. I have demons that start on computers. Daemons that start on computers. Wait, what happened to my topic? Did it actually change? Yeah. Uh-oh. Now you're going to get two of them. Sorry. I don't know if I'm going to take that big a break or not. What's 100% Linux? WSL? Oh, I know. WSL 2. I watched. Yeah. I watched the whole, what was it called? The Windows thing in 2019. In 2019, I watched the entire WSL2 thing. I watched probably 4 hours from the internal team who worked on WSL2. I know how it works very, very intimately. It's amazing. down to the file system translation. That is so stinking cool. One of the biggest things WSL2 fixed was it's 100% integrated with the Windows file system. So when you're seeding around in desktop and home and stuff, you're actually in those places. You're not some other mount. That's one of the. It's like if you touch a file or make an alias on the desktop, it shows up on your Windows desktop immediately. And that was a huge, huge win because you go back and forth between Windows and you couldn't do anything. So my biggest complaint about WSL2 is more about the terminal than it is about WSL2. I hate that you don't have copy. I need to look into it more, but I hate that you can't do you can't do middle mouse click cut and paste like you can with any true Unix system. And so like I can do this. So like I can select this like that, right? And then I can middle click and I don't have to do any. That's all one-handed. Can you do it? Yeah, but you have to left click, right? So here's me cutting and pasting with one hand, as God intended, by the way. You can run exterm. Oh, that's right, you can run exterm. I forgot about that. Use Windows term, not the command one. I do use Windows. The newly improved Windows term or terminator. Yeah. I wonder if I can run Alacrity on that. I bet I can. Alacrity's X, right? Yeah, man, if I could use Alacrity, that would be better. Because I know the configuration of the thing, you know what I'm saying? Alacrity works too. You tested it? Wow, nice. So, I mean, I'm not inclined to put GNOME terminal on there. Windows running WSL2 would probably be one of the only reasons I would ever install a terminal. Normally I would just use the one that's on there and leverage it and be done. Cutting and pasting is a real big thing with me. Like if I can't do xclip and all that, which you can now because it's true Linux. So that's going to be a thing. Yeah, actually I have Firefox in it. Yep. Yeah, I've heard that's a thing too. Yeah, I think I should probably go pretty soon here. And spend some time with my. I might just drop. That's probably the right thing to do. What's one of the best Windows terminals to use in everyone's opinion? The new Windows terminal, the new and improved Windows terminal that's got ligatures and all that kind of stuff, looks pretty fun. Extra out of the box. Yeah. Yeah. Windows terminal from the store is a pretty good one. Is that the one you're using, Vera? You're using the Windows one from the store? Then you can have multiple. The Windows one, it comes with integration, so you can pop up, Ubuntu or whatever, and you can have like multiple images. Yeah. And the WSL2 has X. That's one of the reasons I was really compelled by the WSL2 stuff. I'm looking forward to doing that. So yeah. This one is perfect for WSL2. Command line. Ooh. Yeah, I mean there's lots of stuff. I'll have to open that one. Links last. It would really freak people out is if I started using Windows on stream. That would really freak people out. Like, why are you doing that? It's like, oh, because I want to. Most people are using WSL and they don't know it. Yeah, I've had that. With the people I mentor, I run into that all the time. Yeah, because you have to do some patch upgrades to get to WSL2. That's what we were talking about. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, the new Windows terminal has a catchy little video if you ever want to watch that on YouTube, a little promo video. I saw that a long time ago. You no longer need patch upgrades? Oh, I don't believe that for a second. Okay, if you say so, I'm going to trust you on that. The number of people that I have helped get that. You got to understand, people I've got computers that are like 4 years old, some of them. Yeah. Well, required. I don't know. I continue to run into people that I met, young people in particular, who don't have latest patch levels, not even close. But if 1904, 2020, yeah, you need the latest Windows updates. Yeah, but young people in particular, or people who are not technical, they don't keep their Windows system updated. They just cancel the upgrades in process all the time. They do. They don't. And I'm like, well, I want to use this. Well, you got to go through, and then they have to sit through these upgrades and stuff. I mean, you should be keeping yourself on the latest Windows patch longer. They did change that, right? They don't let you cancel. It'll just restart. Yeah. Well, that's actually one of the things that annoys me the most is that when you set up Windows, you can't not have a Windows account. At least you can. There's a way around it. It's just force restarts you. Yeah. Yeah, that's Windows for you, man. Yeah. Yeah, it used to be they gave you the option to just do a local install, and then they took that out. But 20 years ago, yeah, well, that's for sure. I don't know if I disagree with the Evergreen approach. It's very draconian and everything, but I don't know. I don't know if it's a net benefit. I think the net benefit of this hyper control of your system is for most things is going to be a good thing. It's just a text link with buttons all over it. Oh, I don't know about that. I'll have to go look again. And during games, yeah. Yeah, I hate that. Those specimen, I don't want to update, either force them or let them spread a botnet. Exactly. And that's the thing. You have a lot of people. This is why Microsoft Internet Explorer destroyed the web for many years. Nobody upgraded. So I don't know. It's kind of a debate topic there. Windows command line. Windows terminal preview, which is completely unreadable in links, which shall be read. I gotta go make my wife coffee. I'm gonna have coffee and a conversation, and then I'm gonna come back at 10 and do my thing with y'all. Now prevents local account creation. Ooh, more info on that, huh? Links last. Go grab that one. Windows 10 now prevents local account creation. Interesting. But you can do it. I'm going to have to read that one too. All these need to go into my knowledge base. I actually have a bookmark section now. I'm going to start adding to an automation so I can put that in there. Hopefully I can come back at 10. Okay, so 10 to 11 is going to be us doing a bunch of CSS as fast as possible. And that's it. So I'm going to be screaming through the CSS section of the book. I bookmarked this one, didn't I? Yeah. Oh God. See, this used to have a thing on it, but it doesn't anymore. Yeah, you have to do the whole sign-in thing. Oh my God. Hey Chris, thank you for helping us out here. Yeah, anyway. I will definitely read that later. Got this FOSDEM thing going on right now. If you guys want something to do while I'm doing other things, go check out some of the FOSDEM stuff. FOSDEM.org is going on right now in real time. 7 minutes new to go. It has a little basics down. I can't think of next steps to get better besides create projects. I get stuck at that part too. Do you have any resources you think are good at yourself? So there's not a lot of good beginner resources, to tell you the truth. I'm just going to say it. There's not in Go. It's one of the biggest flaws of Go. I've been wanting to make them for a very long time. I did do one video on how to make a web server in Go. You might enjoy. That's a tiny little project you can do. Golang Resources has a number of resources that are listed here, some of which are absolutely abysmally bad. So I can't vouch for any of them. I've played around with Exorcism. A lot of people recommend Tour of Go. Tour of Go, I believe, has really significant problems with it. It's not designed for beginners, but some people really love it. Q Macro, another common person in here, at Developer Advocate for SAP, he has recommended, the book that Stanford had used, which was the one from Donovan. I pre-ordered 25 of them actually, and they weren't nearly as good as I thought they were going to be. I had one brilliant homeschooled 16-year-old about throw the thing at me because he said it was so horrible. But for a technical person, you might like it. It's called, it's the Addison Wesley one. I can't remember the actual name now. The Go programming language, I think it is. Tour of Go, I mean, if you can suffer through Tour of Go is pretty good. Yeah. But I desperately want to make more stuff. Go in Action is pretty good. As long as you go look at the errata, it's got a lot of bad errors in it. And Head First Go, which I love the Head First series, is ancient. It's pre 1.13. It's like 1.10, I think. It's ancient, but it's got projects in there you can do. My best recommendation to you is to make a web server in Go, make a command line utility in Go using Command Tab, which I need to make a thing about. Simple one. Don't use Cobra or anything. Just use argv and all that. Because those are the reasons you're going to use Go, right? You're going to be using it to make web server kind of things. You're going to be using it to make terminal utilities, and you're going to be using it to do to as a client to go get stuff. So those are the three main projects I would suggest. Yeah, flags and Go. Yeah, you can either use flags or you can just use plain old os.argv, args, os.args. That's what I use. I don't use flags. I use os.args directly. Yeah, okay. Or a bit too hard to get through. I agree. On Turago, that's why I don't like it. It's not made for beginners. It just annoys me. It also requires you have JavaScript enabled, which really annoys me too. And it's not complete. That was something I found out relatively lately. Is if you go to the source of Tour of Go, and it's not even finished. It's got a ton of stuff that it says in their status is like waiting, pending, needs to have blah blah blah. And then I was like, I'd probably say maybe 60% of it is done. The rest of it is still not even finished yet, and yet nobody's worked on it because nobody who's doing Go coding wants to make documentation about how to do Go coding. It's a big problem in Go community right now. And by the way, it's directly against what I'm seeing in Rust. Rust has got lots of great documentation. It's kind of sad because it's a more complicated language. Maybe that's why. I love Go. I've made a video on it, and I'm going to stand by that. I will pick Go every time for stuff I need to do. But one of the biggest flaws in the Go community right now is there is no easy to digest, up to date beginner information that's being kept up to date. And I may actually be the guy to jump in and do that. I don't know. Eric actually mentioned something to me about that if I ever did it, because he was part of the publisher. He was part of the author, co-author of Go in Action. So who knows? Hey Liam. So should we start documenting Go then ideas? I would be in. Watch the video on Rust versus Go. Yeah, you got to watch the whole thing if you watch it though. Nobody does. I was really mad at the time, so just take it with a grain of salt. There's nothing wrong with Rust for certain things, but most people will prefer another language. Lazy people and hard stuff like Rust attracts diligent people. I don't agree with that at all. There's a long-standing saying that the best technologists are the laziest technologists because they find ways to do stuff effectively. They don't want to screw around with what they're doing. They're trying to do stuff. They're trying to create solutions to problems, not more problems. Right? Oh boy. All right. Well, there you go. Thank you for watching it. I was pretty. I mean, obviously, there's many things in that video that I was dead wrong on, and I corrected as many of them as I could. I went back and updated. Yeah, you'll ever meet when it comes to my job. Yeah, you shouldn't look. We don't. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know what to tell you. My suggestion to the Go people, and I actually put this on rwx.gg/lang/go. So here you go. This is my recommendation: rwx.gg /lang/go. Here's another recommendation. Read the manual. Nobody wants to do that either. I don't write documentation. I write, yes, I do write documentation, but my documentation is more in the form of knowledge bases and stuff like that. And this is a part of my whole thing. If you look at the first recommendation I have on here, it's absolutely okay. So, here's my official recommendation that I'm reminded of. The Go programming language specification. Who wants to read the specification? No one. Right? No one does. People say, oh, what's the best way to learn Bash? Read the manual. Well, I don't want to. It's too hard and dense and long. All right, don't then. Well, what should I do then? I don't know. So, yeah. The most important thing on here, Tour of Go is horrible. I hate it. I'm sorry. I hate it. I have watched so many beginners get stuck on it and get turned off by Go that I hate it. And I hate that it's always the first recommendation. It sucks. How to write Go code. This is mandatory. And effective Go, in all of these documents, effective Go is the most important thing you'll read. The problem is that when you read it, you won't understand a lot of the stuff it says because you don't understand some of the basics of Go. If I was reading your point over while you're on your job. Here's otherwise everyone has to hop through the same hoops. Yeah. Effective Go. If you feel up to it, you can jump right to effective Go, and then when it comes to something you don't understand, go back and do the research. But if you truly want to learn Go and you want to have something to show in your portfolio, and you're not afraid of a challenge. I need to put this on my knowledge base. Actually, I'm gonna log this. I'm gonna tell you what to do. All right, so here's my log. Here's how to learn Go in the face, despite the utter lack of documentation, of good beginner documentation. At this point, I can't recommend Headfirst Go anymore. It's just so freaking outdated. I mean, it's really, really outdated with no sign of improving it anywhere. You know why? All those people are actually being paid a lot of money to code and Go, and so they're not making ducks anymore. I don't know that. I'm just suggesting. Yeah, effective Go. And I haven't even read through the whole specification myself. In fact, I was reading through the specification the other day, and I was like, what? But if you want exorcism is okay. It's also super dated. This is an overwhelming problem we have in our society, and particularly in tech, is that as soon as something's written, it's outdated, particularly in Go and web and stuff like that. So we need sustainable living documentation and living tutorials that can change as the language changes rapidly. And we don't have that. And I'm trying to make that. That's what I want the Knowledge Exchange Grid to be about in particular. This is why I don't particularly buy into writing books unless that book is accompanied by an online copy of the book that you immediately tell people, go look at this and forget about this paper, or you just paid for this paper, but this paper is out of date already. In that sense, I think books are kind of bad, right? So, okay, so the first thing you need to do is build, you have to learn how to do a basic Go program. So I'm going to say watch, what is it called? Getting started with Go. I don't know. There's a lot of videos. I don't know. The way that I teach people Go is in a terminal-centric way. So the first few things here. So if you go to rdbx.gg/lang/shaw, do all the challenges and Go. And these are all terminal based, and they include colors and stuff, and if then and all that. Good FTP solution. Yes, totally. Great for that kind of thing. Yeah. Yep. That's what it's good for. It's really good for talking to things. It's important that you understand you need to research how to do each of these as you go, and that there is no one best resource for how to do them. In other words, learn how to search. Learn how to do just in time learning for each challenge, task and project. That's the best way. I still love project-based learning. This is how I do it. It's like, go do all these challenges and see if you can do it. And when you search the internet, you say, how do I do Hello World and Go? You're going to find 10 answers for how to do it. The reason I like research-based just-in-time learning is because you're almost guaranteed to get the latest if you do it this way. And it might not be from the same book or the same resource. It might be a Stack Exchange thing. But it's encouraging you to do the critical thinking, and you put into place the practice that you're going to be using as a professional, which is, I've just been given a task. I need to do this thing. How do I do that thing? It's not like it's not like you research what is the best book to buy, wait on Amazon to go get the book and have it come down and do it. The thing you want to learn here is you want to learn how to get the answers to doing a specific task. However, and you need to get wicked fast at getting those answers in your way, which is why I emphasize the terminal so much. It's a very non-traditional answer, but that is exactly what's going to get you ahead in the tech world. It works, so I finished it. Okay, so another thing to note, is to get a mentor or peer group to review your solutions. So I think this is the reason I like this kind of way, is because this is exactly how I mentor. What's that? MN Pages helped me during my internships. Yes. So another thing is to get a mentor or peer group to review your solutions. Where? Character turn. If you can't find one, join us on rwx.gg. You can probably find another group though. Project is the way. I think Project Plus Mentor is the way. I think it always has been the way. I really do, because you're actually doing real work and you have a task you want to do. And you can be your own mentor to a degree. You know what I mean? Seriously, look, another thing too is at least in the early stages to get a mentor. All right. But here's the thing. Do I have a mentor? No. Did I have a mentor that taught me how to do HTML development when there wasn't a single book on it? No. All I had was the spec. I had the spec and I had a bunch of other completed web pages. And so I looked at those examples, or find a really good developer that you trust and read their code, asking yourself, read their code a lot, then ask yourself, what would so-and-so do? This is legitimately, it's funny. Jill Biden, the new First Lady, she's just pushing through an apprenticeship program in America, which I think is amazing. Yeah, you have lots of people, right? So there are people out there that are willing to help you, but more than that, you need to become you need to become confident in your own decision to arrive at the best answer. And that means you need to put all kinds of things in place in your process at doing that. Those are all skills, by the way, that are not taught. How to get the answers, how to research your own answers, how to feel confident in your answers through a variety of ways. One of them is, following good people and comparing your way of doing it to somebody else's way of doing it, seeing which one is better, and thinking about it, and arriving at the best solution. You have to figure that out. You cannot be a technologist without figuring it out. There's not going to be somebody in the cubicle next to you who's going to confirm all your code every time. Now, when you first get started out, you might need some training wheels and a mentor to help you do that. But you need to immediately break free of that as soon as possible. And the way to do that is to truly learn how to do your own research. The Innovator's book, and this is part of the autodidactic stuff I've been doing, the Innovator's book is full of people who had to be their own mentors because there was, do you think Alan Turing had somebody helping him learn how to do computing? It was brilliant, but it wasn't just that. He had figured out that there was nobody there to help him. So early on in the process, he accepted a certain level of independence in his learning and rocked it out. He just did. And so you need to do that. And that means you don't ask me what's the best book. That means you start with a task, first of all. The task shouldn't be, I want to learn Go. It should be, well, it could be that. It could be, I know I want to learn Go because there's bit work in it and I like it. But more importantly, it's important to say, it would be better if you had something. So I really want to make a Discord ball. What is the thing? When I used to, I don't do it anymore, but when I had people come to my mentoring, the first question I ask them when they walk through the door, what do you want to do? What is the project you have always dreamed of doing, but you feel like you cannot do right now related to technology? Well, I want to make my own mail server, Mark. That's what he said. Or I've always wanted to make a game. I've always wanted to make a website. I've always wanted to hack something, just learn how to do it and do it for good. I've always wanted, they don't even know what Linux is or any of this stuff. And so Linux then becomes a tool to get them on the way. Well, I wanted, they don't know about the terminal. They learn the terminal and they're like, well, what do you want to do now? Well, I want to learn how to write my own terminal applications. Okay, well, what kind of terminal application do you want? I would really love something that helps me pick a color for my text. Okay, let's write it. You know what I mean? So it's always going to be more fun. Here's why you want to do it that way. Number one, you care more. You care more. And so you're motivated to do the learning because you care about the results. Every single day you see me live stream is because I care about the stuff that I am trying to make. I don't have enough time to do it all. So find something you care about. Now, let me suggest some things that you might care about that are kind of fun to do and go. One of them was I would write a web server. Write a rudimentary web server and another with contexts. And go. Write a robust web server with contexts. You make sure you have to do this if you're going to do real stuff. Someone to compare my Go code. Well, and that's just a rewrite Wireshark. Yeah, you know what? And other people write. This is such a fun project. Write a web crawler. I cannot tell you. You know why? If you write a web crawler, you'll learn concurrency. This is a fun project. Program develop a rudimentary web server. Code. I should just put code. Code a rudimentary web server. Not hard at all. 34 lines of code. I have a video on it. The reason I don't want you to watch a video and handhold you through the whole thing is you're not going to learn anything. I mean, you should go to that stuff when you get stuck, right? Don't follow along and paint by numbers to do it's bad to do that. In fact, if you want your brain to struggle, and then by the way, you should probably do these. I'm going to put this there. Now do that, all that again from scratch. Repetition is mother of learning. No kidding. I mean, you can think this is a waste of time. It's not. You really want to learn this stuff, do it over and over again. Or find another project that's a variation on it. Because the learning is going to happen because you're doing it often. If you abandon it and you just think you got one thing done and you're done, you're not going to, okay, so it's like code a simple terminal application. If you want to, you can code. How about this? Code a story game, an adventure. Code a text. Everybody does this, right? Code a text adventure. Bonus for random events, right? Super fun stuff. rudimentary web server. You can do a Discord bot, code a Discord bot, or Twitch integration, or Twitch. Actually, Twitch and Twitter are pretty hard. Discord bot's pretty basic. Discord bots are fun. Discord bot is actually a riff on text adventure. You can make a Discord bot that listens to multiple people in a room, and it's basically the DM. Extra bonus for MMO. Learn to struggle. Yeah, the struggle is good. You want the struggle. The struggle means you're learning. It really does. So, yeah. Embrace the struggle, because that's where you're learning. It is. Goldmine yesterday. What's that? A scholar perspective, as Cloud 6 says. Because how do they do channels? Oh yeah, that's true. Yep. Now do all again. So I have a bunch of like tiny little easy challenges. Do all the challenges that I have in Langshaw. I'm adding more. I have like 40 of them. I've only got like 10 of them up there. I have to port them all from Python. I have about 40 little, I call them micro projects, and they're super silly and fun, but they're designed to teach you a method. And if anything, that's what I'll be finishing, because they apply to all languages, by the way. They're not language specific. It's really great to do a challenge like that, because you can actually compare languages to each other by doing the same challenge in both languages. Really, really effective way to learn coding. I've been doing that for 7-8 years. I've had people come back to me later and say, I love that you taught those micro projects challenges, because now I associate for loops with the Badgers program or something like that. But I haven't got them all in there. I've only got like 10 or 12 of them ported over, which is why I keep working on the knowledge base stuff, because I have a bunch of stuff I need to put into it. And I'm working on that right now. In fact, God, I hope I don't get... I cannot forget, people. I've got a bunch of code in SkillStack that's no longer a nonprofit, and I don't know if they're going to delete it or if I have to just download it also. I've got a lot of work to do there. Wanting to make a Discord bot in Go, but I wanted to do it through Discord Go. But then was looking through Discord Go. It was overwhelming. No, God, no. No, don't use a library. Don't use any libraries that are not standard part of the language at first. When you say web server, don't use Mux or Gorilla or any of that stuff. Just use NetHTTP. Seriously, you can do all that stuff later, right? You do it the hard way first, and then you'll read. Yeah, don't use read the spec. Yeah. One of the things you have to do in development is you're constantly reading specifications and documentation. You got to so you're not just learning how to do Go. You're actually learning all the other stuff of development it's not quantified. It's like you have to learn how to research really quickly. You have to learn how to read fast and scan. I'm a wicked fast scanner. When it comes to reading like a novel or something, I'm the slowest reader on planet Earth. It takes me like 2 years to read Lord of the Rings, because I want to read. I want to savor every word. I love it. But when it comes to technology, you got to learn to scan, which, by the way, means you might be inclined to use a text-based browser at some point, because I can get answers much faster than I could if I had a graphic browser. RFCs on your laptop. Yeah. Exactly. This has been fun. I think this is probably a good place to end. I will save this. This is in my log. This is an entry for today, 2021-206, if you want to go read those entries. And ideas for learning Go or any language. And you can actually, if you click on, if you just click on my, if you follow RWX Rob, the GitHub RWX Rob repo, you can get notified when I do stuff. And if you just click on the update for that, it'll take you right to it. You don't have to drill down into the log. It is Saturday and Sunday, so it's a good time for me to give you some heads ups. I have to take off at least 40 minutes here, and then I'll be back to do web stuff for at least 2 hours. And I know a lot of people don't use text browsers. I do. For lots of reasons I've talked about. You don't have to use one. Well, there's people who don't use them and who are slower at searching. Sorry, Vera, I'm faster. Oh, I fucking hate links. But find your own way. Browser's a very personal choice. And so find your own way, do your own thing. Mouse Potato swears he can search just as fast as me with his really hyper optimized browser as well. So that's your own thing, but I still think it's worth learning. Oh right, and I wasn't attacking you, Vera, by the way. I guess it probably kind of did, but let's say goodbye. Time for me to go eat and have food and talk to my wife and have a shower. I'll be back at 10. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel. Yeah. Yeah, we all have our opinions on that. It's almost like a fun professional competition. Can I search faster than you? I don't mean anything bad by it. I think it's just fun. It's a fun competition. Which is ironic because you have newbies on Twitter saying, am I a bad developer because I have to search for everything? I'm like, what are you talking about? Of course not. Bye.